Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Befriended the League of Villains? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Week 1. Ignore all responsibilities and slack off as much as humanly possible while still labeling it as studying, like Naya. It's a bright and sunny Tuesday morning when Izuku kicks in the door to Kurojire's bar with his arms full of notebooks and a coffee cup holding approximately 7 shots of espresso. Guess who? Tamura, who's face down on the bar, flips him off without looking up. Not my FNG Fallout game? The internet says the package will be here between 8 to 2, Shigaraki Tamura. Kurojire says evenly, washing another glass from his never-ending supply of them. Have patience. Patience, is Tamura's muffled reply. Anyhow, Izuku rolls smoothly over them as if they never said anything to begin with. I'm doing something out of purely spite and I feel like you should be proud of me. We are proud of you immensely. Compress tells him kindly, before turning to where Dabi has his feet up on one of the tables with a faker smile than Izuku's optimism in the world. Here's a gentle reminder to not put your shoes where we eat. Dabi pointedly crosses his ankles. No. That was a gentle reminder, yet your words of defiance bring me ungodly amounts of rage. Guys, Izuku, honest to God, whines, slinking over to his seat and throwing his notebooks down on the bar, gently, because he loves Kurojire and respects the man for dealing with Tamura all day. I need validation. Himiko flounces up to him, taking the seat next to him and greedily grabbing one of the juice boxes Kurojire puts out for them. It's okay Izuku, I'll listen. Magna nods from her corner of the room where she's playing Battleship with Spinner. Even Tamura sits up a little, probably, staring at him past the dead hand on his face. Straightening up, Izuku flips open the first notebook on the bar and shows off the application form. Kaken always told me I'd never amount to anything and I would never be able to go to you, so I'm being petty as F and doing both at the same time. Tamura's hand falls off. You're going to a hero school? Dabi asks, voice thick with disgust. Izuku frowns. Obviously not the hero department, but I was thinking either general or management. It's the best school in the prefecture, which I have a few things to say about because the amount of money the government funds them while other public schools in the county are well below satisfactory levels, and besides, I don't want Sho-chan to go alone. Dabi chokes. Shudo's going? To a hero school? The hero program, to be specific. Izuku adds. Spinner nods. He would be a good hero. Stain would approve. Magna hums. You're only saying that because he buys you your S'more Pop-Tarts, darling. She comments idly. B4 if you would. That's not true. Spinner defends. And if you... He stabs the red peg into the board with far too much untapped anger. Pop-Tarts are ravioli. Twice hops onto the table next to Magna and Spinner, throwing a peace sign and knowing full well the amount of chaos he just caused. 3. Tamura slams his hand down on the counter, his pinky carefully raised. Pop-Tarts are not even ravioli, you shitbags. Yes, they are. Himiko jumps up and down, dragging Compress into the argument, and within less than 3 seconds the entire bar descends into pure and unadulterated chaos until Kurojire warps in an air horn and silences them all with the deafening sound of Izuku's future investment in hearing aids. Children! Kurojire shouts, the gold of his eyes furrowing heavily. I am this close to dropping you in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and making you swim back to land. Spinner raises a hand. I can't swim. Kurojire just stares at him, letting him know without words how little FS he has about that fact. They all quiet down, the fear of God, or Kurojire's irritation, effectively put into them as they go back to their tasks. Except Izuku. The planet is ravioli. He whispers under his breath. Dabi glares and throws his left shoe at him. It's silent for a good minute, Dabi scowling at his shoeless left foot before the earlier conversation reoccurs to him. Wait, we were talking about Shudo joining the hero program. Why the hell is he doing that? Didn't he run away from home because he didn't want to be a hero? No, he ran away because your dad is an abusive dickbag. Himiko chimes in helpfully. Dabi's eyebrow gains a twitch. Thank you, Toga. You really needed to announce my tragic backstory to the entire bar. That's so awful. Grow up, everyone has a shitty past. Twice pops up on the other side of Himiko, which she grants him a single pat somewhere on his face. It's hard to tell where exactly with that mask on. He looks happy enough, at least. Beach, we've already unlocked it 20 levels ago. Tamura deadpans to Dabi, ignoring the commotion behind him easily. Compress dramatically presses the back of his hand against his forehead. Me, on the other hand, will forever remain a mystery dash. Seiko Atsuhiro, a former entertainer, age 33, lives at 45-6, Higashi Ikebukuro 1 Chome, Toshimaku, Mizudafu, prefers dogs over cats but isn't picky, favorite drink is warm sake, favorite food is grilled eel, likes to listen to jazz music and electro swing, quirk, compress. Is activated through physical touch through the arms, so the best way to subdue would be to immobilize at least from the forearm down. Izuku rattles off absent-mindedly. When nobody says anything for a long moment, he glances up, blinking at their stunned expressions. Was I wrong about anything? Compress slowly slinks down, crouching on the ground with his hands over his head. Kurogyri, can I? Kurogyri doesn't say a word, only slides the shot glass of warm sake over. Compress downs it without even glancing up, shivering silently on the floor. Is he okay? Izuku asks, concerned. Himiko claps him on the shoulder. Once, twice, thrice. I'm sure he's just fine, Izuku-kun. She reassures him cheerfully, her eyes frenzied. Speaking of, you wouldn't happen to have anything about me, right? Izuku smiles comfortingly. Ah, don't worry, Himiko. She relaxes, smiling back at him. I didn't write any of it down. Everything's in code anyhow, but just in case, I memorized all of it and destroyed any of the physical evidence. Himiko, for some reason, doesn't look comforted. Since I'm taking the UA exam, which is one of the hardest exams in the country, I'm gonna need all the help I can get. Izuku shuffles all his notebooks back together, having already made a study plan of all the information the exam might have and stayed up to 3 a.m. last night regretting everything, had a panic attack, called Dr. Shinso and had her talk him out of his usual coping mechanisms of dissociating and playing near automata so that sweet existential dread can kick back in. He's doing fine. Midoriya. Kurogyri begins almost hesitantly. It's December. Entrance exams are in January. So, Izuku smiles maniacally. My plan for doing everything this month is to not sleep, drink a lot of coffee, and hope the power of Christmas can get me through it all. Kurogyri stares. Do you take constructive criticism? Izuku keeps smiling. Not without crying. From behind him, Magna pipes up with C5. And Spinner curses so colorfully as he flips the board game that Dabi opens up the notes on his phone and writes some of them down. The doorbell rings. Dealvuai. Tamura shoots up, grinning excitedly. My Fallout game. Ever since Izuku first started leaving the house on a semi-regular basis, he usually finds himself in either one of two places. Kurogyri's bar, because while he may have friends now, they're all usually somewhat busy doing crime, or at least pretending to be busy. Izuku doesn't think Tamura has looked away from his handheld once for anything other than passing out from sheer FING exhaustion in the last 4 days. And the shop. A mix between an inventor's wet dream and just a run-of-the-mill coffee shop that serves drinks probably laced with crack. It's a place where the desperate, the needy, the students with exams, find themselves at all times of the day. Seriously. It never closes. Never. Izuku's about 70% sure it's a front for a drag cartel, but they serve drink abominations so strong that a single cup keeps him awake for 2 days straight, so he's not complaining. Also, they're addicting as hell. Another tick for possible drag dosing. Stepping up closer in the line, Izuku hums as he considers what to order. Can I have cappuccino with, 9 shots of espresso dash? Jesus Christ, the boy behind him exclaims. Just do cane. Izuku flips him off over his shoulder, waiting for the dead-eyed worker to make his coffee. There's a reason he's never worked customer service before, and that reason is murder. When he turns away with his drag addiction in hand, his face splits in a grin right as the person grimaces in recognition. You should have said, "You're part of Not for the Hero fuckers." The boy with eye bags deep enough that airport security would have to search through them before letting him through just looks visibly pained as stares up at the ceiling in a God take me now manner. He's also wearing the same t-shirt Izuku is. You see, when Izuku decides to do something, it's either all or nothing. When he started playing video games, he became a shut-in. When he decided to befriend a bunch of villains, he made them friendship bracelets and braided their hair, literally. When he decided to attend UA as an ultimate sign of his pettiness, he committed. And by that, he means he formed an online study group for those applying for every other course but the hero course, aptly named Not for the Hero fuckers. Izuku made t-shirts. The boy's eyebrow gains a tick. They mailed this goddamn ugly but shirt to my house. He hisses out between his teeth. How the hell did they find my address? No idea. Izuku blatantly lies. It was his IP address. The cat video link works every time. But hi. I'm Midoriya Izuku. Shinso Hitoshi. The boy answers blandly, only to stare at him impassively as Izuku chokes on his drink. Clearing his throat after several seconds where his life flashed before his eyes in a mirage of empty chip bags and shitty coffee, Izuku tries a smile and miserably fails. Shinso? Like Dr. Shinso? Some of the tension in Shinso melts. You've met my aunt. He says simply, but Izuku feels a hot flush of shame on the nape of his neck. He would die for Dr. Shinso with how much she's helped him and Shudo, but she's also exclusively trained for patients dealing with quirk discrimination. Quirkless isn't really in her repertoire, but she took him on anyway. Yeah, I'm one of her patients. Izuku laughs nervously, jumping in place as Shinso fetches his coffee and they set off together towards a seat in the corner. Shinso simply hums in response, the whites of his eyes widening as he sips at the pure crack they sell as coffee. Honestly, with his hair, demeanor, and love of cats, Shinso reminds him a lot of Eraserhead. The other boy simply stares at him with dilated pupils. He said that out loud. You know Eraserhead? Shinso asks wonderingly. Izuku slowly takes out his phone. I have about 300 videos of him downloaded and a quirk analysis memorized. Shinso sets down his coffee with the carefulness of a newborn drag addict, turns in his chair, and grabs Izuku's shoulder with a gentle desperation. Midoriya, he says, deadly serious. I would like to ask for your hand in friendship. Goddamn, I thought you would never ask. Izuku grins. One condition. I get to call you Hiken. Deal. Hitoshi doesn't even hesitate. Fishing out his headphones, Izuku brandishes them right along with Eraserhead's debut video, not that it's called as much. Wanna binge about 4 hours worth of him strangling people with a scarf and kicking them in the head. Hard enough to knock them out. Hitoshi looks at him like he just hung the sun. I'm buying you a ring pop tomorrow. He mutters and takes the offered headphone. Izuku rests his hands on his hips. Why did you call me over? I was hanging out with Hiken and Mei-chan. The two friends he made for sure from Not for the Hero fuckers. Personally, he thinks Hitoshi would be an amazing hero, but the other boy seems a bit discouraged and is jumping between general and management. Mei, on the other hand, is a literal genius, and if she enters support like she's planning to, she'll probably take over the world by the time she graduates. He keeps buying her coffee and hopes that'll put him in her good graces when she inevitably becomes the Shadow Prime Minister. Izuku is amenable to being a secretary. He could 100% pull off the miniskirt and heels look. Tamura merely looks excited though, clapping his hands together with his thumbs raised. You'll see, he says ominously, leaning against the abandoned garage's wall as they wait for Kurogiri to drop in the gift for the very unimpressed Dabi. As I said before, Dabi glares at Tamura, slowly working himself up to a rant. Buying me video games is a sheet apology for turning my sandwich to dust. You know that place doesn't deliver and I can't go there more than once a month with my ugly mug without having the pigs on my butt. I had been looking forward to it for weeks. And if you think buying me another crappy fighting game after whatever the F Dark Souls was about dash, Kurogiri warps in the present. Shigaraki, I love you. I know. Tamura says smugly. Which finds them in this situation, 10 minutes later with an officer glaring at them in disapproval. Dabi is steadfastly not making eye contact from behind his hoodie and scarf. Izuku's just looking at the sky. It's a lovely day, overcast with heavy clouds that promise snow. Violent snow. So beautiful. Do you know why I pulled you over today? Nope. Himiko says brightly, sweating slightly. Maybe if Izuku keeps staring upward, a blizzard will appear right this very instant and put them all out of their misery. The officer sighs, like their very existence pains them. And that's before knowing about their not-so-secret identities. I'm pulling you over because you were driving with 3 people on a motorcycle. Dabi shifts in his seat, Himiko and Izuku squished in front of him. And then it hits them. Wait, 3. They glance behind them. OF dash, Izuku curses. Temukan fell off. You're all effing dead to me. Tamura curses, nursing an ice pack against his side and pouting up at the ceiling from where he's lying on one end of the couch. That's fair. Dabi replies, holding a bigger ice pack against his cheek from where Tamura almost knocked out one of his teeth for revenge and lying on the other end of the love seat. Shudo sits on their coffee table, unblinking as he cracks open a water bottle, pours it into the plastic bag of ramen, heats it up in his hands, and then eats the half-cooked noodles straight from the bag without any seasoning and with his bare hands. Himiko hisses a breath between her teeth, wincing like she's in pain at the very sight. Izuku can relate so badly. You should probably leave soon, Mom should get back from work in the next hour or so. Izuku comments idly, not really expecting them to actually follow through, and gets 2 snorts and 4 middle fingers in return. Dabi only has one available hand, so Shudo helps him out by lending him his own with the blank expression of, am I really that oblivious, or do I actually understand what I'm doing and am just messing with you? Tamura-kun, we have game night tonight though. With the whole league. Himiko whines, poking a finger in Tamura's rib and almost losing it. She only giggles when the 5 fingers come very close to circling around her index finger. Then they can move their lazy buttes over here, Tamura snarls, closing his eyes and ignoring her as he presses the ice pack harder against his bruised ribs. I'm not getting up for anything less than death. Izuku taps his phone against his knee. Would you get up for Monopoly? Tamura cracks an eyelid open. Keep talking. Hey, Dabi says casually later that night while the Midoriyas introduced all of them to the wonders of Monopoly. Twice is face down on the floor crying. Himiko's rapidly growing paler every time she lands on one of Izuku's railroad stations. Izuku himself is cackling as he collects in all the dough he's extorting from his friends, ignoring their desperate pleas. Compress called it quits 3 rounds ago and is helping himself to Mom's yakitori in the kitchen. Shudo and Dabi teamed up but yet are both still failing collectively harder than anyone else in the house. Tamura's been banned back to the couch to sulk after he accidentally dusted some of Dabi's money with another ice pack. Magna watches all them, terribly bemused and laughing freely as she lands herself in more and more debt with the attitude of someone who stopped giving a F dash. Spinner keeps muttering under his breath, this isn't what Stain would want, as he lands on another one of Mom's many properties. And Inko, his lovely mother, the apple of his eye and the person he loves more than anyone else in the world, just smiles at all of them with that gentle, serene smile as she ruthlessly destroys all of them without batting an eyelash. Kurogiri, who's nursing his small handful of money and even smaller handful of properties, had said at one point to her quite genuinely that she reminded him of Sensei. His mom had only smiled and thanked him, because she was amazing like that, before laughing and stating that the only person who had even come close to beating her was her husband. Only once though. She said mildly, taking another $400 from Spinner's shaking hand without even looking at him. He cheated horribly too, was always a sore loser, that one. Married me for my competitiveness though, he should have known what he was getting into. Quite unfairly, everyone's head turned towards Izuku, which he thinks is rude. He's not that competitive. Yes, Dakuin? His mom prompts when Dabi only frowns at his and Shudo's property, a single brown one that Izuku's been eyeing for the past 20 minutes. If he puts a little more pressure, he might be able to get it for 100. Dabi flushes, though whether it's at the nickname or the unfamiliar maternal affection Inko tends to douse whenever some lost-looking child wanders within 3 feet of her. I have a request. Even Shudo looks curious, blinking up at his brother with his forever impassive expression. The closest he's gotten to expressing anything close to a smile is when either cold soba is in front of him or b. It's Thursday book club with Inko and the rest of the neighborhood's middle-aged mothers. Personally, Izuku just think all the Todorokis have mommy issues. Point proven literally 30 seconds later. What the F dash? I want to break our mom out of her psychiatric hospital. His mom calmly sorts her money. I see. Is this the one where she's been stuck in for the past 10 years? Dabi nods with a deep glower, and his mom hums, folding her money away. Well, that will be a bit difficult, considering how tight the security is there. She says easily as she tugs at Himiko's offered property, the younger girl close to tears as she desperately clings onto it. But give me 3 days, I have some calls to make. With that, she rips the property away from Himiko and fans out all her cards on the table like they're playing poker. I believe this is a win for me, ladies and gentlemen. Compress leans over Izuku's chair, still eating their yakitori. Your mother is absolutely terrifying. He informs the teenager cheerfully. My dad's scarier. Izuku says blandly. All of his friends look various degrees of horrified, except for Kurogiri. Kurogiri looks delighted. 3 days later, Izuku trails into Kurogiri's bar with his mother on his heels, holding an impressively thick manila folder. Dakuindir. She hums softly, dropping it on the table of the suddenly polite and well-behaved adults. Mommy issues, the lot of them. I called Hisashi, had him pull some strings to get some information about your mother's location in exchange for a few things. Dabi hesitates, obviously concerned. It wasn't anything bad, right? She laughs, patting his cheek like he's a small toddler. Dabi blushes. Oh, it was just a couple videos of Izuku, don't worry about it. Izuku crosses his arm with a scowl, cheeks burning red. He wanted me to dictate letters I wrote to him when I was 5. God, could his dad get any more embarrassing? Or creepy? He dug through his father's old things while searching for an old Pokemon game to play with Tamura, and came to 2 conclusions. His dad is possibly a career criminal, if his tax returns are any indication. The amount of baby pictures of himself is quite frankly disturbing. He shudders. He could deal with being a career criminal, but who the F needs over 400 photos of him as a newborn? Dabi brightens up with the obliviousness of someone who's never had an overly attached parent before. Oh well, that's not too bad then. Shuto, who knows full well what living with an overly attached parent is like, hides underneath the table and continues playing Animal Crossing on Izuku's Switch like the little snitch he is. Week 2. Continue acting like everything is under control while coming to the slow realization that no, things are so far out of control it's not even funny. Izuku. His mom knocks on the door gently, and then louder when he doesn't answer immediately. Izuku honey, one of your friends is here. Groaning, he rolls out of bed, landing on the floor with an audible thud and a crack of his spine. Which one? He mutters, but somehow she hears him anyhow. Mother powers include superpowered hearing, eyes on the back of the head, and the ability to put the fear of God into him with just a look. She hesitates. The, blonde one? Shokun's grabbing her a towel now. He glances out the window. It's not raining though? Himiken. He roars as he sprints through the house, nearly bludgeoning her with the goddamn door as he bursts into the entryway. What the F did you do? Himiko, who's literally coated in blood, cries out. Izuku-kun, it's not what you think. I won't hesitate, Beach. Izuku. His mom scolds him, hurrying to catch up with him. Though, she is dripping all over my brand new rug. Himiko cries louder. It's at this point Shudo returns, stopping dead in his tracks as another glob of blood falls off Himiko's shoulder and hits Mom's week-old white rug with an audible splat. Shudo stares at Himiko, then at the towel in his hands, then at Himiko again. It's okay, Izuku reassures him gravely. This situation requires the strongest asset we have. God, Himiko garbles later, standing in the backyard with her arms spread out. Why did you abandon me? She curses to the sky, waiting for the sweet release of death. Close your mouth, Himiko-chan, I don't want you to get any water in it. His mom tells her sweetly, and Himiko does what she says with a sour expression, lifting her arms up higher for Shudo to keep washing her down with the hose. Sho-chan. Izuku nails dig into the shitty leather of the booth in the lovely ice cream shop they found after burning Himiko's clothes in an abandoned parking lot so no one would track them by smoke. Sho-chan, I love you dearly, you're probably one of my very best friends, but sometimes. Shudo hums back at him, eating his ice cream with FING chopsticks. Izuku reminds himself to take deep breaths. While this is a grave offense, it's no reason for him to commit a murder in front of 20+ witnesses. If he's going to finally kill Shudo, it'll be with an alibi. And somewhere that no one will notice him using nitric acid to dissolve the body, or God forbid, calling in a favor from Tamura or Dabi. Never mind, Shudo just put ketchup on his vanilla ice cream. He's going to freaking lose it. Someone slams into the glass on the other side of the window. Shudo! The muffled yell catches the attention of half the shop, both of them glancing up curiously. They freeze. Sho-chan. Izuku repeats, his face pale. Why is there a giant, beefy version of you pressing his face against the window? The giant, beefy version of Shudo somehow inches himself closer. Shudo, is that you? Don't worry, Nichan will come save you. His friend slowly puts his ice cream down, adjusts his ball cap, and forces himself to a stand. Time to go, he says briskly. Couldn't agree more. Izuku agrees cheerfully, leaves some money on the table for the poor owners, and Finji books it out the back door with Shudo on his heels. The two of them dash down the alleyway, breaking out onto a side street and cutting across it to the other side. Both of them don't slow down until they're at least 3 blocks away, emerging onto a busy intersection and blending into the crowd as much as 2 out of breath, or just him, because Shudo is a monster when it comes to stamina, teenagers can. An arm swings around Izuku's shoulder. Nice try, kiddos, but you're a little too green at outrunning authority figures to beat me. The giant, beefy version of Shudo grins teasingly, his other arm wrapped securely around Shudo's neck. Shudo looks like he swallowed a lemon whole. Hi, Natsuo. Natsuo winks. Hey little brother. If you wanted to run away from Daddy dearest, farthest from me to stop you, but a phone call would have been nice. He squeezes Shudo playfully, a glimmer of hurt in his eyes. Shudo seems to catch it too, for how bad he is at social situations. Seriously, he asked Izuku the other day while he was on the floor crying over his math textbook if he was cutting onions. They didn't even have any onions. It was a bit of a spur-of-the-moment decision. Shudo decides on, and Izuku chokes down an inappropriate laugh. Well, that's one way of describing it. Sorry, Natsunai. It's like Shudo hit the jackpot. That's okay, Natsuo announces, his eyes huge as he fights off a giant grin. You know what? I'm totally cool with it. Just give me a number so I can keep in contact with you, and keep calling me that, preferably forever. His best friend grimaces. Sure thing, Natsunai. If his mouth can purse up any more, he wouldn't have lips. Natsunai, meet my friend Izuku. Izuku, meet Natsunai. Under the bus Izuku goes. Nice to meet you, Sho-chan Zenai-san. Izuku puts on his award-winning smile to the older brother of the teenager he accidentally kidnapped. I have a question, if you wouldn't mind? He asks shyly, giving the act his all. Natsuo blinks, smiling back brightly. Sure. Anything for Shudo's friend. His tone 100% implies that Shudo's never had friends before, so he's about 30 seconds away from giving Izuku his firstborn. Great, should make things easier. Are you a vigilante? He asks, humming innocently as Shudo suddenly chokes on his own tongue. Natsuo keeps smiling, his eyes screaming. Your statement earlier implied you run from authority figures often. which includes more than just police, as a hero would never deal with a teenager doing petty crimes. So obviously you've done something big enough to have heroes chasing after you, and you navigated rooftops when chasing me and Shochan if the emergency ladder from the alleyway just behind us is any indication. And those muscles aren't for show, never mind that your sneakers are a professional brand for those in extreme sports. I doubt you're a villain, mostly because you weren't subtle when you saw Shudo and you're making no attempts to hide your identity. There's no current masked villains in the Mizutofu region with your height and stature. So, vigilante. Natsuo blinks. Wow. He finally murmurs, at a loss for words. Shudo, you sure know how you pick them. Shudo glares at Izuku. He picked me. He mutters petulantly. Was I right? Izuku prods. Yep. Natsuo admits quietly, grinning boyishly as he finally lets go of Izuku to scratch the back of his head. I'm the vigilante avalanche. Shudo looks suspiciously at his brother. Is that a reference to Dash, only to get a hand slammed over his mouth as Natsuo shushes him nervously, but Izuku's mind is already running 1,000 miles an hour. Finally, he has to ask it. Why? Why? Natsuo tilts his head to the side. Well, I had to get rid of all of my all-consuming anger somehow. He chirps brightly, and yeah, Izuku sees the family resemblance now. The cogs spin in Izuku's mind, remembering anything he can about the vigilante avalanche. They mostly patrol in the late night to early mornings, implying they work in the afternoon, or take afternoon classes. Izuku side-eyes him, and fights with flashbangs and a taser most of the time, though they're strong enough with just their fists. There's no sign of quirk usage. Eraserhead used his quirk on Avalanche and neither his speed nor his strength decreased in the slightest. No obvious sign of a mutation either. Maybe it involves brain chemistry? There goes the mumbling. Shudo deadpants. Ah. Izuku startles, blushing once he realized both of them were staring at him. I didn't mean to creep you out or anything, Shochan Zenai-san. He bows several times. Natsuo waves his hand. Don't worry about it, kiddo. His teeth seem to sparkle in the light as he winks, ruffling Izuku's hair playfully. And for my quirk, well, I'm quirkless. Oh no. Shudo mutters. Shochan Zenai-san. Izuku says, utterly serious. Natsuo. Natsuo-nai. I would die for you. Gently opening the door, Izuku trots inside with Shudo and Natsuo on his heels. Hi Mom. I brought home a new best friend. His mom pokes her head in from the living room, smiling brightly at the sight of Natsuo. Oh, another one. Do you need any medical treatment? If there's any blood on you, I won't ask questions just as long as you clean it up properly. At this point, she's skipped right past being taken aback and has pranced neatly into blasé when it comes to the people who keep crashing on their floors. Shudo has a monopoly on the couch and refuses to share no matter how much he's threatened with fire, knives, or a disintegration quirk. Natsuo seems amused at least. No thank you, ma'am, I'm all good. Something crashes loudly behind his mom. All three of them skid towards the doorway, with Izuku hoping fervently that it wasn't any of his new All Might merchandise. He's been warding his video game stash with figures and posters of the hero so that Tamura's grubby fingers stay away. They're limited edition too. Only for them to see Dabi, his controller askew on the coffee table and mouth open as he stares at Natsuo with a bag of chips on his lap, the TV screen showing a paused screen of, is that Farming Simulator? Tuyanai. Natsuo croaks. Sheet, Izuku knew he forgot something. Dabi carefully places his bag of chips on the coffee table, saves his game, turns the TV off, and dives straight through the window. It wasn't open. Unfortunately, Natsuo also inherited the dumbass genes and nosedives right after him. Carefully picking his way through the shards of glass, Izuku pokes his head out the now very broken window. Both of them are running down the street, screaming incoherently for two vastly different reasons. Natsuo, for seeing his seemingly dead brother after 10 years bumming it out on Shudo's couch and playing shitty video games. Dabi, for faking his death and having karma catching up to him in the form of his 5'11" beefy younger brother. His stick but doesn't stand a chance. Sure enough, Natsuo tackles him in a move that would make a professional quarterback weep. yelling something so littered in profanities that his mom instinctively covers his ears despite him hearing far worse from Tamura whenever he gets piked. Are they? Shudo trails off from where he's sticking his head out a foot below Izuku. Noogieing each other? Either that or passive-aggressively hugging. Izuku notes wonderingly. I certainly hope one of them plans on paying for the window. His mom frowns, glancing at the glass all over the floor. Ding, I just cleaned in here too. Ever since Natsuo discovered his missing younger brother and his supposedly dead older brother, Shudo and Dabi have thus ditched the friend group in order to invite Natsuo on their sibling bonding. Their sibling bonding, if Shudo's search history was any indication, involves donuts, sticky notes, mayonnaise, and jello. No, Izuku doesn't know either. Thus, Izuku finds himself at his fifth best option, after his mother, Shudo, Dabi, and the cat that likes to hang out by the convenience store on the corner. F you and F your pixelated cartoon, but you effing 2-bit knockoff Kraken. Tamura howls at the TV screen, shooting at Kala Maria with extreme prejudice. Considering Izuku keeps getting hit by her eel and fish combo, he's about ready to flip the TV himself. Maybe playing Cupheads wasn't the greatest of ideas. Then Izuku dies and he flings his controller at the wall. IFNG dodged that. What the hell, who the F designed this level? Satan? Tamura growls, closing the game without saving and switching to his game library. I'm playing something else before I have a goddamn aneurysm. And because Tamura cringes at the mere thought of Harvest Moon, it took Izuku 2 FING years to stuck cam. He's not deleting his save file if it kills him. He immediately puts on Call of Duty to de-stress. He's beginning to feel like they have two very different coping methods. Leaning back against Tamura's headboard, Izuku absently plays BitLife on his phone and has SEC with 20 people in a year, keeping one ear out to Tamura's shouts at the game. Who the F used a goddamn grenade? A tense pause. I'm not effing hypocrite, UD-. I'm perfectly confident in my shooting skills that I don't have to compensate it with a bunch of FING grenades. Temukin, calm down. Izuku scolds lightly, more focused on abandoning his 18th child on the side of the road. He's sorry, but he only works as a esterpia. He doesn't have time to pay all that child support. If Dr. Shinso sees him now, he has a feeling he would be psychoanalyzed to hell and back. I am calm. Tamura hisses out, but obligatorily flops backwards so his head is resting on Izuku's lap while he kills people violently in Su. Izuku hums to himself, patting Tamura's head and running his fingers through his greasy hair, which he knows Tamura is self-conscious about even if he won't admit it. Sure enough, Tamura tips his head up and eyes him speculatively during a loading screen. Tell me I'm pretty, he orders. Smiling softly, Izuku pinches his cheek. Pretty effing annoying. Rude. Tamura huffs without much intent, eyes flicking back to the screen and eyebrows scrunching up. I'm effing pretty because I said I'm pretty a-hole. He spits out to whoever's on the other end of his headset, button mashing with his pinkies raised. Rolling his eyes, Izuku goes back to playing BitLife, before eventually skipping over to webcomics when he gets bored. Honestly, some of these are good inspiration points for when Mei inevitably takes over the world and he has to help her manage the populace. An hour later, Himiko bursts into Tamura's bedroom with Kurojiris kiss the cook apron and her hair done up in a ponytail with a cute scrunchie. You two are effing. Both of their noses wrinkle, because videos games are way better than section. But they also have a reputation to remain, so Tamura pauses his game and looks up at Izuku. Why didn't you tell me, Midoriya? I would have put my game down. I've been meaning to tell you this for the longest time, Temerchan, but Izuku trails off dramatically. I have a FTSH for Xbox controllers. Birch. Tamura intimates his controller vibrating with a suggestive eyebrow wiggle. Himiko looks a little sick. That's what she gets for being gross. Plopping down next to them, she flings her legs over Tamura's and props her head up with one of his many pillows. I'm bored. Kurojiri kicked me out of the kitchen for reckless use of knives and arsenic doesn't belong there, he's such a drag. Tell him that to his face. Tamura states flatly, knowing full well that's a one-way ticket to the middle of the goddamn Pacific Ocean. Unfortunately, Himiko has about an ounce of common sense, and that lies in not psing their soul warper off. No thank you. She chimes sweetly. A faint smell reaches upstairs, but Izuku can't tell what it is. What were you making? Sue him, he's a little hungry too. Cinnamon rolls. Himiko bobs her head, having slipped out her phone and idly browsing it while Tamura plays his game loudly. Though he's probably busy dealing with the kitchen being on fire. Izuku chokes, Tamura's controller fumbles in his hands and accidentally disintegrates, and Himiko reblogs a post about cats being assholes. The smell is definitely smoke, and something dawns on Izuku horribly. Dabi spends more than a given quarter of his time here, which means the FING sprinkler system is disabled. Tamura shouts, leaping off of the bed and scrambling for his consoles. Midoriya, get all my limited edition figures. Toga, my pre-ordered games. Sir, yes sir. Would you mind telling me why all three of you ran back after evacuating the first time? Kurogyari asks them, voice low and simmering with anger. I'm a minor, so legally, anything I say doesn't count, right? Himiko asks with a panicked smile, juggling the giant Persona 5 box next to the Dissidia collection. The gaze turns to Izuku. I'd really not say. Honestly, the figurines are getting a little heavy, but he has a feeling Kurogyari will warp them the instant they're out of his arms and up 1,000 feet up in the air directly over his head. Tamura, oh Tamura, the man has no fear. Bold words for a man who saved his alcohol collection first before checking in on his ward. Kurogyari is silent for a long moment. Agree to never speak of this again? Agreed. Izuku comes home in time for dinner, covered in soot, ash, and icing. Turns out that even after being roasted in the oven at temperatures unsurvivable to humans without either a fire-resistant quirk or pure spite, those cinnamon rolls tasted pretty good. So despite brushing death, Kurogyari, he's in a pretty good mood. Until he walks into the kitchen to see not only his mother, but Dabi, Natsuo, and Shudo crying hysterically. Is everything okay? Izuku asks, almost hesitant to know. Did something bad happen to the boy's mom? Did someone famous die? Does he need to go on a revenge spree? T-turtles. Never meet their mothers. Dabi sobs out with blood trickling down his cheeks as his Walmart brand tears, and the four of them start crying anew, positively wailing at the top of their lungs. Blinking, Izuku slowly steps back. I'm just gonna go. His mother waves him off, loudly blowing into her napkin and patting Shudo's shaking back. Izuku retreats back to his room, suitably weirded out, and vows to bleach the very memory from his brain in favor of playing Undertale. Week 3. Cram, 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 until sleep becomes an unaffordable luxury, all the while listening to All Is Well on repeat because it resonates with all dying students. Midoriya-kun, Hitoshi says slowly, dead eyes focused on the screen in front of him from where they've been studying linear progressions for the past hour. They've only grown deader with every letter found in a numerical equation where there shouldn't be one. You have weird friends. Izuku hums distractedly, checking his phone. Shudo sent a picture to the hashtag WhoIsThatVillainIC channel, a selfie of him throwing a peace sign with a blank expression in front of a giant billboard with his face on it and the words "Have you seen me?" Right below it, Dabi sent one with a similar theme, but with a manic smile in front of a home shrine with his baby picture on it. Himiko has one with her T-posing in front of a whole board of missing teenager papers in a CU store, and even Tamura has an old newspaper, with the name already decayed. He's beginning to feel a little left out at this point. I don't think they're that weird. Izuku lies blatantly. Hitoshi makes eye contact, takes a long sip of his crack coffee that somehow comes across as threatening, and then points out the window. Izuku refuses to look. He knows full well that Twice and Himiko are having an aggressive dance-off right outside the shop. For a teenager who has a surprising amount of issues about villains, he took the revelation that the people who randomly teleport into Izuku's house to steal his food are villains admirably well. Which means he passed out when Tamura held out one of his many, many hands for a handshake, only to be woken up by being fanned with one of them. At this point, Izuku has passed having FS to give about touching dead body parts. When the fainting and the screaming passed, Hitoshi took the offered breadstick from Compress and numbly ate it on Shudo's couch between Magna and Spinner, both of them giving him condolences for his unwilling incorporation into this madness. Izuku's pretty sure they go bowling every Wednesday to complain about them now. The sound of sirens puts a halt to Himiko's and twice dabbing, both of them shrieking before diving into a nearby alleyway as some rookie hero gives chase. Izuku goes back to studying. "I've brought you here," Compress says slowly, the room dark and lit only by a dim light bulb above his head. "To play the most dangerous game dash. Knife Monopoly?" Himiko idly asks, turning on her phone and blinding the entire league with a very graphic image of a dissected bird as her home screen. Izuku needs better friends. Compress hesitates. "I was going to teach you all how to play strip poker, but now I'm curious about whatever Knife Monopoly is." Later, Izuku begs, eyes burning as he stares at his chemistry textbook, trying for the love of God to understand what the electron clouds are about. "I'm begging you." "You okay, kiddo?" Dabi asks carefully from the other end of the bar, nursing a drink that is taking all of Izuku's self-control not to rip out of his hand and chug it like a keg stand. "Just fine." Izuku hisses, slamming his head down over his textbook and blinking back the sheer misery he's feeling. Why can't he dissociate for a bit? Studying is so much easier when he doesn't have to set 5-minute crying breaks every hour. Glancing around the room, he tries to find anyone who isn't a dropout, and fails miserably. Compress maybe? No, Izuku asked him what 9 times 3 is and he had to look it up on his phone because he forgot. A glass of juice gets set down in front of him. "Remember to hydrate and take frequent breaks." Kurojiri reminds him gently, patting his unbrushed and unwashed hair without a moment of disgusted hesitation. "Could you do a small favor for me, Kurojiri? I would literally die for you, but go on." Kurojiri tells him, completely and utterly serious. Izuku's face doesn't even twitch. "Can you explain this to me?" Their warper leans over the bar, squinting at the fine text. Well, that's what Izuku thinks those yellow lines for his eyes mean, anyhow. It's hard to read a sentient mist's expression okay. Kurojiri starts, staring down at his textbook. "My apologies, I don't seem to understand it either." Izuku's effed. "Let me see." Tamura leans into space, and then Dabi, both of them staring at it with identical expressions of confusion. "Magna?" Dabi tosses out desperately. "She's out partying. Or selling drags. Not sure which." Twice answers helpfully, scratching the back of his head. "Toga? Wait, no, not you." Izuku and Himiko glare at the fire quirk user, and Dabi holds out his hands pacifyingly. "Not anything against you. Just, we all know you wouldn't understand chemistry. Toga-chan is the best at biology though, she knows so much about it. She only does it to dissect animals." Twice winces at the words that roll out his mouth, and instantly Himiko's lip is wobbling. Her voice cracks a little bit as she speaks. "That's mean, Jin-kun. I'm sorry, Toga-chan." "No, I'm not." Twice smashes his face into the bar, screeching to himself quietly as his mutters dissolves into half-baked apologies and off-topic jokes. At least Himiko seems to have already forgiven him, if the way she pads over and rubs his back is any indication. Honestly, Izuku only has room for one mental breakdown right now. It's him. He's the one having a mental breakdown. Spinner rests his elbow on Izuku's hair and kindly doesn't comment on the fine layer of grease over it. You're stuck on C6H12O6? That's the chemical reaction for sugar and it's a polar bond, so it makes it soluble in water." The entire bar goes dead quiet. "What?" Spinner asks defensively. "I liked that song, Molecular Shape of You, a lot back in college. Helped me pass my gen ed science courses I had to take." "You?" Tamura rasps out, for the first time lost for words. "You went to college?" Spinner blinks. "I did? Never finished though." "But is that a problem?" No one in the room said a word about how that's probably the highest education all of them have gotten combined, including Kurojiri, and it was the person with the slightly worse personality traits of Izuku's gamer, shut in, and obsessive tendencies combined. Tamura takes the hand on his face off, lays down next to Twice on the bar, and screams. Izuku walks into his house to see all three Todorokis assembling what looks like a FING grenade launcher on his living room floor. "I'm so tired, guys," he whispers. Natsuo trades looks with his brothers. We can go back to my apartment?" Izuku nods slowly. There's 9 Natsuos, which he knows for sure is his vision malfunctioning rather than him accidentally being cloned. The world can't take the sheer himbiness of 9 Natsuos. "You do that." Barely managing to avoid the tempting cry of sleep while he crams English words into his brain, Izuku grunts his thanks as Himiko drops off a cappuccino in front of him. "I got you a nice, hot cup of coffee for my sleepy Izukun." She giggles as she sits down across from him. Her smile strains when he downs it with sheer desperation, looking mildly concerned for his kidneys. "It's cold though," Izuku retorts, still sipping at it. "Nice cup of coffee," she amends cheerfully. Izuku stares down at the brown sludge. "It tastes horrible." Himiko discreetly pushes her own drink, some pink abomination with glitters and sparkles, out of his lunging distance. "Cup of coffee?" she offers weakly. "To be honest, I'm not even sure this is coffee. It's amazing what 11 shots of espresso does to the taste." "Cup." "You know what, that works." Both of them go back to their respective tasks once that's settled, Izuku having a mental breakdown as he wonders if can get away with writing a dictionary worth of vocabulary on his stomach, and Himiko doodling in her sticker-covered notebook with one only pink earbud in, humming to herself contentedly. It's only been a week since she ran away from home and ended up crashing between Kurojire's spare room upstairs and the floor right next to Shudo's couch, but she just seems happier, more livelier, less like there's a dull look in her eyes every time she gets lost in thought. His throat feels tight, so he downs more of his drink, catching her attention swiftly. "What does coffee normally taste like anyway?" Himiko asks curiously. Izuku chugs the rest of it, leaning back in his seat and aiming towards a trash bin at the other side of Kurojire's bar. The paper cup misses, but Kurojire only sighs from behind the bar and uses his warp gate to dump it properly. Izuku knew there was a reason he liked the man, and not only because of his ability to make Tamura shut the F up once in a while. "Not as good as it smells." "Oh," Himiko says, staring into space. "Like shampoo." "Unicorn shampoo?" he asks, with the tone of a veteran who has seen the horrors of war. She nods. "Unicorn shampoo." He takes Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off at least. Well, it's not by choice, but rather his mother tried to tug the textbooks out of his fiercely resisting hands, both of them hissing back and forth until Shudo walked over and dumped ice cubes down the back of their shirts. Natsuo must have taught him that, because Izuku sure as hell didn't. So yeah, he's forced to take the 2 days off, with his mother hustling the sacred texts off to lands unknown, his textbooks into her bedroom, as even when he wants to die he doesn't dare step into it without her XPLCT permission. Luckily, she didn't find out about the flashcards, so he's studying on the floor of his bedroom, squinting at traditional Japanese sayings and wondering what kind of drags they were on for them to come up with this stuff. Didn't court ladies use lead in makeup or something like that? Maybe that was England. Izuku's arguing with himself on whether it's Japan or England that used toxic chemicals on their face when he hears the sound of Shudo walking down the hall. His mother walks much heavier. He's not sure whether the unnaturally light footsteps are because of endeavor or just Shudo's natural gait. Dabi walks the same way though, and Izuku had previously chalked Natsuo's quiet steps to his vigilantism, so maybe he needs to turn on his computer for something other than Nintendo lo-fi music to study to and check in how his endeavor hate forums are doing. Midoriya, Shudo's voice from the doorway draws him out of his thoughts, wearing sunglasses and a rainbow beanie, a sure sign as any that he left the house. It's not Sunday, so it can't be brunch with Dabi, nor Tuesday, so it's not sibling bonding time with Natsuo, or Friday, which is when he has his appointments with Dr. Shinso. Izuku tries not to bug Shudo on where he's going. The boy deserves his independence more than most, but Shudo literally thought a mugger was just a homeless beggar and tried talking to him about his life choices. The surprising part is that the mugger listened and got his act together. They're friends now on TikTok apparently. I went to go buy Inko-san a birthday present, but I don't know her well enough. Shuto explains, almost hesitantly as the bag over his wrist ruffles. So I had an idea. No presents for me? Izuku asks wryly, and gets Shuto rummaging through his bag to pull out a single packet of ramen with a bow slapped on it only to fling it at his head with what feels like terminal velocity. Deserve that. Both of them move on without another blink. Do you think she would like this? Shuto asks, pulling out the last item in his bag and showing it to him. A box of hair dye. Izuku's eyes widen. Yes. He whispers. His mom bursts into tears when they walk into the kitchen while she makes dinner for them, and probably the whole league when they inevitably show up. Shokun. Shuto nervously fiddles with his now very green bangs, a stark copy of Inko's pure green rather than Izuku's black highlights. Izuku offered, but Shuto had one person in mind when the two of them were dyeing his hair, and one person alone. He doesn't mind. Shuto deserves all the good people in his life, and Izuku isn't biased, but his mom is the best. Shokun, come here. His mom gently beckons, and Shuto folds himself into her arms, hilariously tall and broad-shouldered compared to his mom's small frame. She talks to him softly, so quietly that Izuku can't hear it, but Shuto relaxes more in her arms, burying his face in her shoulder. Izuku makes to leave, only for Shuto to call his name. Glancing back, he raises an eyebrow as Shuto steps back from his mom and digs through his pocket, eventually holding out an eyebrow pencil. For the freckles. Shuto explains at his confused look. Needless to say, the hug Shuto gets almost sends him flying to the floor. Izuku scans the fresh produce, dropping a couple of bell peppers from Kurogiri's list into the basket over his elbow. At his side, Dabi picks up a box of raspberries with his gloved hands, humming as he checks it for mold before putting it back and grabbing a different one. What brand of chips do y'all want? Himiko shouts from one end of the store. I'm always a slot for Doritos. Tamura yells back from the other end. Izuku sighs. Man, this has been a long week. Dabi gives him a weird look. It's 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. I know. Himiko skids around the corner with a carriage full of junk food, Tamura on her heels with 3 baskets of canned goods in his gloved hands. We good? Both of them do a cursory look at the list. Yeah, we got everything. Izuku finally says, sending the text out to Kurogiri. Within moments, a warp gate appears in the middle of aisle 1, vegetables and fruits. Thank you everyone. Himiko waves to the hostages sitting on the ground, but it's with her bloody knife. Everyone gasps and flinches back in sync. What? She blinks, glancing around to find the source of their terror. Luckily, the sound of sirens distracts her confusion. Let's go! Dabi shouts, pushing him and Himiko first through the warp gate like the good big brother he is. Izuku oofs as he lands in the middle of the bar, Himiko skidding next to him, then Tamura and Dabi already bickering. The gate closes, leaving them surrounded by the efforts of their bi-weekly grocery run, theft. It's a sheet ton of food to feed the whole but league. How did it go? Magna asks, already rifling through. Himiko snacks and stealing a bag of Cheetos. Good. Izuku chirps cheerfully, pushing his thermal goggles up into his hairline and pulling his respirator down. Jiren really came into a clutch to help him hide his face, with the whole ensemble being vaguely threatening with red lenses and a toothy grin painted on the respirator. Compress walks up next to her, both of them sorting through the junk food. He glances up, probably to ask something, before doing a double take. What are you wearing? Frowning, he points at his face coverings. You mean this? No, those make sense. Compress waves off. I meant your shirt. He glances down at his shirt, a plain white t-shirt with the words villain costume printed on it. It was on clearance at his local thrift store. It's my villain costume, obviously. Izuku explains slowly, still confused. Don't bother. Kurogiri mutters. I haven't been able to make sense of it either. The smell of bacon and eggs cooking stirs him from his sleep. Normally, that would be a comforting smell, just him laying in bed and listening to his mother cook breakfast while Shuto talks to her quietly. But considering the last thing he remembers is studying with Hitoshi and Mei at the shop, and the only food they serve is pre-packaged chips, it's a bit concerning. Eesh. He groans, forcing his blurry eyes open from where he's sleeping face first on the table. The first thing he sees is several people gathered around him, all of them gasping at the sight of him awake. Ivy. Mei nudges his shoulder, using her nickname for him. Ivy, don't move. Blinking slowly, he squints up at her as she smirks. Why? It comes out as a statement. Just trust us. Hitoshi chimes in next to her, also smirking heavily with his phone camera aimed towards him. Or what's on his back? What did you put on me? Before Mei or Hitoshi could say anything, another girl walks up to them with a plate. Do you mind if? Not at all. Mei grins, leaning over him with a spatula. Mei-chan, Izuku asks desperately as she scrapes something, quickly handing the girl some scrambled eggs and bacon. Hitoshi and the girl pose for a selfie before she escapes back into the crowd of eating students. Please tell me you didn't put a tripod Bunsen burner on my back while I was sleeping and decided to make breakfast for the entire cafe. Okay, I won't tell you. Mei pats his head. Hitoshi takes another photo. What's Hokusai's most famous work? Tamura reads off the flashcard, his face twisting into a frown. Who the hell is Hokusai? He mutters to himself. Himiko's head pops up from where she's playing Bayonetta on the TV in Izuku's living room. Oh, I know this one. It's the Great Wave off Kanagawa. Izuku rattles off, limbs twitching slightly against the carpet underneath where he's lying on his back. According to WebMD, he's either having a heart attack or a pulmonary embolism, but mostly he's just tasting colors. His mom has banned caffeine ever since he let that fact slip, so he's making do with eating cosmic brownies while crying hysterically. Correct again. I think that's it for art history, so whatever Tamura was about to say gets interrupted by Izuku's front door being bashed open. If anybody asks, Natsuo says, reeking of smoke and soot with char marks all along his clothes. Shudo and Dabi don't look much better, but Natsuo steals the show by holding the goddamn grenade launcher while saying this. I was here the whole time. Okay. All three of them slowly nod. Great. Natsuo says faux cheerfully, shoving the grenade launcher into Dabi's fumbling hands before wandering down the hall. I'm gonna go steal your shower real quick, be right back. What were you three doing? Himiko asks, pausing her game and leaning over the back of the couch. Her cheeks grow rosy at the sight of the bloody cut on Shudo's arm. Shudo smartly hides behind Dabi. None of your business. Dabi says curtly, hefting the grenade launcher up. Just don't check the news for the next 24 hours or so. Works for me. Himiko grins, flopping back in her seat and resuming her game. Tamura, on the other hand, gazes down the hallway Natsuo left through with an unreadable expression. Dabi notices his gaze. Problem, handfucker? He asks defensively. No, just, Tamura scratches his neck. Your brother is kinda hot. Dabi immediately attempts to load the grenade launcher. It takes the combined force of Shuto, Himiko, and Izuku to hold him in place. When Natsuo comes out of the bathroom with just a towel wrapped around his waist to investigate the noise and Tamura blushes, they end up having to knock Dabi out with Izuku's math textbook to prevent a voluntary manslaughter. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yours? I'm dying. An overcooked lasagna noodle. I feel gay in this Chili's tonight. It's what she deserves. GIF. Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus. Is this more of your slang? Shigaraki Tamura, did you change my username again? What up Tamura 19 and I never FNG learned how to read. Can you prove it? Welcome to Bible study. We're all children of Jesus. Not currently. What up Tamura 19 and I never FNG learned how to read. Then no I didn't. Abracadabra, but it's Harry Potter, so I just FNG killed you. Everything okay twice? Hit me. Hit me with your car. Give an amen to Compress for being a good bean. The yo-yo master just keeps on yoing. I may be a simp, but I'm not if any thought. Amen degree. Abracadabra, but it's Harry Potter, so I just FNG killed you. Thank you all, that actually means a lot to me. But yes, twice, is everything alright? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yours? No, like I'm legit dying. Some guy I was trying to recruit stabbed me in the parking lot behind Denny's. Phil is a habit. Blurry picture of twice dabbing in an ambulance with blood all over him. Several people are typing. Week 4. Imminent breakdown over approximately minus 90 hours of sleep and contraband caffeine, helped by sass and physical affection. How many hours do you have to go without sleep before you start hallucinating? Magna asks Compress after a long night with Twice at the hospital. Well, more like breaking Twice out of the hospital, the entire thing involving rubber bands, a hot glue gun, and copious amounts of photos of Nick Cage. None of them have insurance, after all, to pay for the stab wound. And the whole villainy thing, that too. 48 maybe? Compress tilts his head to the side, putting a hand on his chin contemplatively. It's 72 hours. Magna makes a startled noise while Compress barely suppresses a flinch, glancing behind them to where Izuku is sitting in the corner booth with his textbooks spread out across the table. It's 72 hours. Izuku repeats, dead eyes gazing past them as he holds his drink with badly shaking hands. Both of them stare at him, obviously bewildered. How do you know that? Compress asks slowly, voice thick with concern. Izuku takes another long drag of his coffee. There's a clown behind you. The clown waves. Izuku waves back. What's bitchin'? Hitoshi asks, dead eyes not moving from his laptop as he furiously types at their seat in the shop. Across from him, Mei sticks her tongue out of the corner of her mouth as she frantically pages through an engineering textbook, her other hand fiddling with some other contraption that sparks ominously. Izuku collapses next to Mei, uncaring of the potential explosion if it could get him out of studying. I long for death. Without missing a beat, both of them chime in. Same. Flipping open his Japanese textbook, he slips out the worksheets he downloaded online and throws himself into studying them, the rest of the world turning psychedelic colors in the corners of his vision. Sweet, another side effect of not having slept in almost a week. Eventually, they take a break, with Mei being the elected coffee fetcher. She grumbles, not wanting to separate from her death machine, but obligatory gets up with their combined cash and joins the line of exhausted students, quickly chatting up several of the Not for the Hero Fuckers members who formed their own study groups. They're nice enough people, but quickly grew unnerved with the fervor the three of them took to studying. It's not his fault that his past incarnation was a feral raccoon with rabies. What are you studying from anyhow? Izuku asks curiously when Hitoshi quickly switches tabs when someone walks behind him, hunched protectively over his screen like he's a dragon and it's his gold. Hitoshi purses his mouth, eyeing him for a long moment. Promise not to say anything to Hatsum? If there's one thing Izuku loves more than friendship, it's secrets, specifically the kind of secrets that are the exact opposite of, Midoriya, I need your help to hide a body, that he gets at least 4 times a FING day. Sure. Spinning his laptop around, Hitoshi brandishes his. Izuku takes back every good thing he's ever said about Hitoshi. Course hero. Izuku asks cheerfully, voice so fake it wouldn't fool a snail. But Hitoshi's not dumb, but has very little experience with friends lying to him, mostly because he's never had friends before Izuku took the baseball bat of platonic soulmates to his skull. Lying is a skill Izuku had to learn within 3 days of meeting Tamura. Yep, Auntie got it for me to help me prepare for the exams. I guess she still felt bad for missing Christmas. Hitoshi states conversationally, and Izuku shoots him a dark look which reads we'll be talking about this later, while Hitoshi conveniently looks out the window attempting to whistle. Tempting is the key word. It's quite evident that Hitoshi can't whistle for the life of him and can only make a sound like some pot smoker after a hit. Don't ask. But still, of course just the idea of it is making him salivate. All those papers no longer hidden by hundreds of firewalls and fake blurry images to fool him into hoping that the first 4 offered lines could offer him the answers he craves. And Hitoshi has it. Mei flounces back with 2 of their drinks, setting her and Izuku's coffees down. Someone volunteered to test one of my babies out. Her eyes sparkle ominously, leaving Izuku with the feeling that they didn't quite volunteer as they were voluntold. Without another word, she's gone just like that, screaming at the top of her lungs as she approaches some boy with yellow hair and a black zigzag who, understandably, looks terrified for his FING life right now. Purple Panda? The poor barista calls out, sounding so confused and drawing the attention of half the cafe. Hitoshi stares at the ceiling, long-suffering. Mocha for Purple Panda? Izuku's silent for a long moment. Are you gonna dash? Yeah. Hitoshi interrupts him, still staring at the ceiling. Just give me a moment. A long moment stretches into 2, a full minute passing by before Izuku realizes Hitoshi is too anxious to get up. Immediately, Izuku feels the mom friend override activate like he's some kind of sleeper agent, every instinct screaming at him to solve every problem of Hitoshi's that has ever existed. So of course he just gets up and fetches Hitoshi's coffee for him. The barista, towering over 8 feet tall with tattoos running up and down his arms and knives for hair, hands over the coffee with evident confusion as he stares at Izuku's own green hair. He opens his mouth and then closes it again, which is good because otherwise Izuku would have to add his appearance to reason 403 why this place is probably a cover for a drag cartel. Trudging back to the table, he retakes his seat and offers out Hitoshi's coffee. Congratulations, I now have to come up with some kind of cover story on why I would be called Purple Panda when I'm neither purple nor a panda. Hitoshi smiles at him behind the rim of his cup, taking several large sips. Kinda like a panda though. A baby panda. Tiny, harmless, and cuddly. He eyes Izuku. Maybe not harmless. Another word about my height and I'm going to break your kneecaps, Hiken. Izuku says sweetly. Moving on, Hitoshi accepts quickly. Please don't tell Hatsumi of course hero? Or anyone please. He smirks. Everyone for themselves after all. Sure, it's no problem. Izuku shrugs, a small little half-smile playing around his mouth. Hitoshi sighs. Thank you. Sometimes, I feel like you're the only one I can trust, Midoriya. And that's the exact moment when the sleeping drags Izuku put in his coffee kicks in and he passes out. Izuku keeps smiling serenely even as Hitoshi's head hits the table with an audible thunk, carefully extracting the mocha from his grip before it spills over the table. Then he reaches over for Hitoshi's laptop and slides it across the table towards him, phone already out to take non-stop pictures. Everyone for themselves. He chirps cheerfully. He's not that good of a friend. Besides, Hitoshi needs the sleep. Izuku acknowledges the hypocritically in that statement, but given that he has the self-preservation instincts of a goldfish, he's elected to ignore it. Across the room, Mei cackles as her newest victim screeches in agony. No one bothers to look over. Shudo walks into the kitchen to find Izuku crying hysterically over a baking pan, and then immediately does a U-turn and walks straight out. He pauses in the doorway, and Izuku swears he hears him mutter, "Do this for Inko-san, Shudo," to himself. Either way, Shudo pivots back into the kitchen, face set like he's a soldier going off to war. What are you doing? Baking. Izuku sobs cheerfully, smiling brightly at his best friend with tears running down his face. I was really craving honey buns. Shudo blinks. It's 2 a.m. He keeps sobbing with a smile. I know. Another blink. Do you ever sleep? Shudo asks, almost wonderingly. I mean, sometimes I close my eyes when I blink. As if he was a wild animal, Shudo slowly approaches him, gently taking the baking pan out of his hands. Izuku lets him, mostly because his hands are shaking horribly. I was making the dough and I didn't let the yeast rise enough so I had to add more yeast and then the dough was too wet so I had to add more flour and now, he sniffs. There's so much dough. Shudo glances over to where a giant cooking bowl is filled to the brim with dough. Don't worry about it. He reassures, though he frowns in bafflement at what they're going to do with approximately 10 pounds of dough. It isn't this hard in cooking, mama. Izuku blubbers, barely noticing how Shudo tucks the pan away and guides him by his shoulders out of the room. Have you ever heard about ASMR? Shudo asks, faux casually as he steers him towards his room. I've been really into the video where the nun takes care of me while I have the plague. There's a long pause before he says, voice fond. I feel like I'm in good hands. Considering Izuku has watched that video, he feels like he should be concerned about that when he has more energy to care. Izuku gets 3 lines into Shudo monotonously reading the B-movie script before he passes out face first sideways on his bed, Shudo asleep perpendicular over his back. Inko takes a photo and hangs it up on the hallway wall to shove off to all the other Thursday Book Club members. Kurogiri walks into the bar to see the entire league crying hysterically, all of them holding loaves of various sizes. There's just, Himiko sobs. So much bread. Shudo sits among a throne of bread, handing out more loaves to the crying villains with a blank face. Have some more, he says blankly to a bawling spinner. Homemade bread for free. Shudo chants, like some knockoff 19th century newspaper boy. Kurogiri tries to leave, but a small figure cloaked in green stops him in his tracks, balancing 4 loaves on his open physics textbook. Eat the bread, Juriken. Izuku says, eyes manic. Eat the bread. Don't do this to me, I can't handle any more yeast products. Loaded on Buddio. Twice yelps, the sound mixed with both utter joy and utter pain as Shudo hands him more bread. In the corner, Dabi shoves an entire loaf into Tamura's mouth, laughing maniacally as Tamura lets out a muffled scream. Kurogiri, understandably, is terrified. Hey, do you have a bag I can borrow? Tamura asks, searching around the bar for his handheld. The only bags I have are the ones under my eyes, and they're specifically designed to carry the burden of my existence. Izuku says. Literally all you had to do was say no. Izuku glares at him, one hand practically attaching the coffee cup to his mouth while the other is scribbling formulas in the vain attempt at memorization. What do you even need a bag for? I'm going camping. Tamura says absent-mindedly, not noticing when Izuku chokes on his coffee. Tamura, camping? I need something to hold my games. Across from him, Himiko looks vaguely shell-shocked. This is the dark timeline. She mutters under her breath. Kurogiri, luckily, comes to their help while wiping a perfectly clean glass. He has a feeling that the fact they live on top of a bar isn't a coincidence in the slightest with how much he's thrown himself into the aesthetic. Shigaraki Tamura has discovered where the middle Todoroki's son lives and has decided to go stalk him. Himiko and Izuku trade wide-eyed looks. Dude, Izuku breathes. Dabi's going to kill you. Tamura grins. I know, right? Finding a bag, Tamura pockets all his games and pulls up his face mask. See all you losers later, I'm going on a stealth mission. Have fun? Himiko waves hesitantly as Tamura walks out the door, looking honestly not sure what to do with herself. Izuku feels her. He feels her so badly. About 20 minutes later, one of his Snapchats lovingly nicknamed cryptid sightings solely for embarrassing pictures of Tamura pops up with a notification. Himiko and him open it at the same time, staring at the selfie of Natsuo grinning wildly in a grocery store with Tamura following him, not being inconspicuous at all, and the caption he thinks he's so slick. Less than 30 seconds later, Dabi storms down the stairs, already on fire like some kind of avenging angel. I'm gonna kill that necrophile a-hole. Izuku just sighs as he watches Dabi practically fly out the door in his endless pursuit in turning Tamura to a fried corpse, biting down on his pencil and trying to write with his coffee cup. Himiko stares, and it takes him a moment to realize what just went wrong. Are you effing killing me? Izuku doesn't sleep the night before the exam. He doesn't study either, a migraine taking residence behind his eyes by banging pots and pans obnoxiously. It's nearing 1 a.m. when he creeps out of bed, stumbling down the hall towards the low level of noise from the living room. Shudo's asleep on the couch, socked feet kicked up on the armrest and elbow thrown over his eyes to block out the flashing light of the TV. Izuku takes a look at the TV, catches some blonde model in heels beach slap either her identical twin or a fellow model, and promptly turns the reality show off before its content can burn into his brain. It's not that Izuku dislikes reality shows. Rather, he gets so into it that his mother had to suplex him to tear the remote from his white-knuckled hands. Avi should have won Season 2 of Skin Wars and he will die on that FING hill. Picking up one of their numerous throw blankets, he gently lays the surfing dog's quilt over Shudo. His best friend shifts in his sleep, a gray eye peeking up at him cautiously before relaxing back into the couch cushions. Sleep. Shudo grumbles, gesturing to his general direction. He smiles humorlessly. I'm trying. But Shudo's already unconscious once more, so the words go unheard. But once again he doesn't give his mother enough credit, including her ability to automatically tell when Izuku's up later when he should be, especially after he finally somewhat fixed his sleeping schedule. Izuku! He jolts up, glancing up down the hallway. His mom yawns back at him, hair messy and a sleeping robe loose around her shoulders in the dim light of the lamp from her bedroom. Can't sleep? Shaking his head mutely, she smiles gently, beckoning him over. They end up sitting on her bed against the headboard, her arm wrapped around his shoulders as he cuddles into her side. For a long moment he just listens to her breathe, closing his eyes as she gently runs her hand through his hair. What if I don't get into UA? He whispers. The hand threading through his bangs stills for a moment, before she brushes them back to affectionately kiss his forehead. What if everyone was right about me? It burns to admit it. But even when the whole world was against Izuku, his mother has always been there. Sometimes she's failed, he admits, even though the very thought feels sacrilegious. But what parent hasn't messed up at some point or another? His mother has always loved him. She's always tried, when no one else was willing. You know, that day when I got the call from your school, I was terrified. His mom admits, and Izuku's breath catches in his throat. I didn't know what to do, I just sat in my car for so long. It was only when the hospital called me so I could come in to sign paperwork that I finally made myself move. He grimaces, hiding his face in her shoulder. In retrospect, there was nothing in particular that led up to it. He did his homework, mind drifting, half-scribbled problems that he gave up on halfway through because his mind couldn't focus. He went to bed at a decent hour, tossing and turning, unable to sleep and unable to entertain himself. He walked to school, bag yanked off and books scattered in the road, loud taunts of "Go kill yourself already, freak." And he stared at the cars passing by with far too much longing. He attended class on time, listening to their jeers and insults, and pins his shoes and milk on his gym clothes and white flowers on his desk. He paid attention to his teachers. Midoriya, you'll never amount to anything. Midoriya, you need to think realistically. Midoriya. Hero, teacher, doctor, manager, lawyer, technician, engineer, counselor, accountant. Midoriya, you'll never amount to anything. Midoriya, you need to think realistically. Midoriya. And Izuku just snapped. It was ugly. He doesn't remember most of it, just the god-awful crying, the strands of green he teared out in his shaking fists, and the screaming. The principal was there, and so was the nurse and the counselor as he shrieked himself uncontrollably, threatening to kill himself in front of half a dozen witnesses. They called an ambulance. Of course they did, they had no choice, but he wouldn't let anyone touch him, clawing and kicking at anyone who tried. Kaken was the one who ended up carrying him out. He bulldozed his way between the swarm of all the suddenly concerned teachers, scooping up the screaming Izuku in his arms, and didn't bat an eyelash at the scratches Izuku gouged down his cheek. By the time they met up with the paramedics, Izuku had exhausted himself and let himself be limply handed off and strapped down. He's never seen Kaken look that scared before. It was the last time he's ever seen him, too. Izuku spent 3 days in a pediatric psychiatric hospital, with the consent of his mother after his suicide threat. When he was let out, he spent another week hiding in his room, drifting between sleep and the heavy haze in his mind. Little things made him cry, or go numb entirely, and his mother fretted herself into a nervous wreck. He dropped out of school about a month after that, when he realized that the mere idea of leaving the sanctuary of the house had him puking in the toilet. Agoraphobia onset from a depressive episode, Izuku learned from an overheard phone call between his terrified mother and their family doctor. Desperate for anything to fill the endless hours besides the void of his head and the tears that blurred his vision when he watched hero videos, he played a game his father had bought for him in his recent splurge of gifts in an attempt to make up for his lack of emotional involvement in his life. Sea of Thieves, to be exact. And he met his friends, and the rest is history. You were so small and so quiet when I saw you again. He remembers how she had clasped his cold hands with her trembling ones, crouching down in front of his chair with unshed tears clinging to her eyelids. I promised myself that I would do everything I could to make the world easier for you. Izuku, listen to me. His mother looks him in the eyes and tells him the words he's always wanted to hear but never had the courage to ask. You are not useless. No matter what you do in life, what you become or career path you chose. You're 14, baby, you're not supposed to know what you're doing with your life right now. She tickles his side, pulling a laugh out of him. If one path collapses, there's 3 more in its place. If UA doesn't work out, there's the programs at Shiketsu or Ketsubutsu, there's online schooling, you don't even have to go to school at all and I would still be just as proud of you. She kisses the top of his head. So just live. Izuku wakes up the next morning in his mom's bed, the blanket tucked tight around his shoulders. He smiles despite how hot he feels, neatly making the bed after he climbs out to take his shower. His mom is in the kitchen making breakfast when he walks in, Shudo dodging her heels like a sullen puppy, matching green hair shining under the lighting. She hugs him several times, fussing over his appearance and checking to make sure he still has the lunch she packed. Shudo's less aggressive of his worry. All he does is hand him a charm for exams he must have bought at a nearby shrine. He's surprisingly traditional on things like these. Natsuo walks him part of the way there, excusing it as him passing through the neighborhood on a jog despite there being at least 3 stun guns under his suspiciously black overcoat and blood on his knuckles. They jump over all the cracks in the sidewalk together until they reach the train station, Natsuo ruffling his hair with a wild grin before disappearing back into the crowds to finally get some shut-eye. The entire train ride, his phone keeps buzzing obnoxiously, forcing him to bow in apology to the irritated commuters before muting the sound. It still vibrates every few seconds, his screen filled with constant messages. You got this, darling. Astican. Put on a show they'll remember for the ages or I'll disown you. I realize you're not my child but I have a very powerful, I'm not mad, just disappointed, stare. Jinkuen. Kick their buttes. Or get your own butt kicked. Whatever you want, love. Figure. Stain is proud of you. GIF. Show all those false heroes how it's done, kiddo. Juriken. I'll prepare some of your mother's katsudon for when you visit the bar. You'll do wonderful, Midoriya. Temuken. I didn't spend all those hours learning FNG art history for nothing. You better ace this FNG exam or it'll kill you. Good luck. Himiken. Degree, Omega. Good luck, Izuku-kun. I made a blood sacrifice for you. Don't worry, it's from a pigeon. If you get tired, let me know and I'll take your place for a bit. I love you. Daken. Kick names take but. I'll be waiting for you after the exam. Go left, 3rd alleyway on the right, next to the mochi shop. We got Superman ice cream depending on whether you want to celebrate or cry in Super Smash Bros. So we can watch that funny twitch in Shigaraki's eyebrow whenever he gets his butt kicked. Let me know if anyone's mean to you so I can torch their butt. Show all those losers up, Midori. Izuku wipes his eyes, sniffling quietly as he shuts down his phone. He'll respond to them later. Right now, he just needs to breathe for a little bit. He's got such good friends, he realizes as he catches sight of Mei and Hitoshi waiting for him at the gate, Mei waving enthusiastically and Hitoshi tugging his hood over his face in embarrassment. Both of them smile when they see him, Hitoshi linking their elbows together and Mei chattering his ear off about possible inventions. Izuku doesn't say much, carrying that torch of warmth in his stomach even into the exam, a pencil in his hand and a packet set in front of him. Exhaustion still clings to him, blurring the world at the edges and softening his thoughts, but more than anything, he feels effendi petty. So when they ask him what are the flaws of the hero system, Izuku blacks out. The next thing he knows, the examiner, it's present Mike what the F, is taking the exam away from him looking slightly disturbed, the essay spilling out onto his backup papers. And his seatmate's backup papers. And the people behind him. His hand aches, graphite smeared across his aching fingers and mind blissfully numb with the knowledge he spent 15 pages roasting the hero system into smithereens. Izuku, why are you like this? Hitoshi is whisked away by the crowd, but not without a high five and manic eye contact because what the F just happened. He's pretty sure Hitoshi just had a come-to-Jesus moment on the reality of management studies, especially because he's pretty sure half of the students were either sobbing hysterically or laughing maniacally throughout the entire exam. Or both. He was both, obviously. Rubbing his eyes, he staggers out of the exam room, letting the crowd and the faint memory of a text guide his steps out of the school and down the road. The street signs are too blurry for him to read, the words sliding right out of his vision and color smearing like some kinda a-hole abstract art. Izuku is so tired. The mod shop has a bright green sign, he remembers, but he doesn't know why he needs to go there anymore. He stops a little off to the side of the glowing sign, the neon lights pulsing in his brain, and doesn't protest when a figure with a hood up grabs his wrist and drags him into the alleyway. Death's finally here. Oh, someone's exhausted. A familiar voice teases him, but Izuku can't remember who. A warm hand pokes his cheek, warm enough that he instinctively sinks into the chest in front of him with a relieved sigh. Midori? Wait, don't tell me dash. It's at this point his knees give out, eyes rolling up as his spite-induced energy finally runs out. Someone barely catches him, leather-feeling arms snagging him under his shoulders before his head smacks against the filthy cement. Called it. The voice says, sounding strained. A sigh, and then his limbs are being arranged, his arms pulled around a warm neck and legs wrapped around someone's waist as they monkey carry him. The things I do for you. You're lucky Sho and Natsu like you. They grunt, and Izuku can only hum, sinking into the warmth as the person carries him somewhere. A hand rests on the back of his head, tucking his face into their scarred neck. Go to sleep, Midori. We'll celebrate when you wake up. Izuku smiles, and lets the tidal wave of exhaustion drag him under. Wrinkling his nose, Izuku mutters something incomprehensible as he feels something moving along his cheek. Several people gasp, and Tamura cackles, which is an immediate sign that he better wake up right now. The F-. He mumbles, forcing his eyes open. His cheek is pressed against warm leather, arms locked tight around the thing he's forcibly cuddling. The thing that is currently chuckling into his hair. Izuku eyes widen, cautiously glancing up. Dabi raises an eyebrow back, his phone balanced on the top of Izuku's hair. Hey there, Midori, think you could release me now? Izuku realizes very quickly that he's currently lying on top of Dabi's chest and is gripping his shirt with a Vulcan death grip. He squeaks. Sheet, sorry. He yelps, hurriedly untangling himself from Dabi. It's only when he's scooted himself to the other side of the bed that he realizes that the rest of the league is standing around them in a semicircle. Kurogyari has a camera. Himiko's holding a marker. Narrowing his eyes, he glances down at his forearms. You didn't. Himiko nods sagely. I did. All over his forearms are little doodles, obviously little sketches from everyone in the league. He doesn't recognize most of the handwriting, except for Tamura's lopsided death is a preferable alternative to communism next to a highly detailed sketch of Mr. Clean in a thong. He doesn't even want to know what's on his face. I hate all of you. He grumbles. Love you too, kiddo. Dabi says dryly, and feeling bad considering he's been using Dabi as a pillow for the last, who knows, considering he still feels exhausted, Izuku mumbles a quick not you and gets a single head pat in return. Great, love this sweet moment, can you get off my bed now? Tamura snips, nudging Dabi's leg with his toe like he's some disease thing. You wouldn't let go when I put you down for a nap, Dabi explains at Izuku's confused expression. It was either stay hunched over or lay down and browse my phone. It being Shigaraki's bed wasn't exactly a hardship. I'm gonna have to wash everything. Tamura hisses. Who knows what kind of sheet you carry around, you walking staph infection. Dabi blows Tamura a kiss. That, somehow, is the worst possible response he could have chosen. Before another bloodbath occurs, Kurogyari claps his hands cheerfully. I'm sure Midoriya is still exhausted. Your mother called, you can stay as long as you need to rest up before returning home. Izuku was pointedly not thinking about the fact that they have each other's numbers. Kurogyari's crush on his mother isn't something he likes to think about. You heard him, get. Tamura pokes Dabi again with a gloved hand, and it's only quick reflexes that stops himself from getting a steel-toed boot to the crotch. The rest of them trickle towards the exit of Tamura's room, lingering around the doorframe as Dabi extracts himself from Tamura's nest of pillows and blankets. "Good night, Midoriya Izuku," Kurogyari says, sounding like he's smiling. Izuku smiles sleepily, moving over so Tamura can crawl into the bed next to him. "Night, Juriken. Get some sleep." Spinner waves enthusiastically. Compress tips his hat. "Sleep tight." "I love you, Izuku-kun." Himiko jumps in place. "Don't let the bed bugs bite." But of course, the league being the league, they can never have a soft moment without someone ruining it. He trusted Magna. "Tonight, I'm a fight." Twice immediately chimes in, his huge smile visible even under his mask. Dabi finger guns, sheet-eating grins stretching as far as the staples would let him. "Till we see the sunlight." Tick-tock. Compress whips out a pocket watch from God's nowhere, because he lives for drama like Shudo lives for shitty reality TV. Rolling his eyes, Izuku can't help but join in. "On the clock," he states monotonously. Himiko, at the very least, doesn't seem deterred. But the party don't stop dash. "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa." They shout as one, several of them even throwing a fist up into the air or yelling excitedly. Except for Kurogyari, because Kurogyari is already safely in the hallway far away from the inevitable fallout. "Shut the F up." Tamura screams, throwing a pillow at the group. It hits Himiko hard enough in the face to knock her right over. The next person who sings is getting their paycheck docked. Despite the fact that Izuku is about 90% certain they don't get paid, they all take the hint and quickly clear the room, most of them snickering or outright cackling. And Izuku? Izuku grins widely, feeling more alive than he has all week as Tamura grumbles to himself with that hysterical twitch in his eyebrow. Flopping down in the bed next to Izuku. Izuku decides as he lays down, tucking his head underneath Tamura's chin. He's got all he needs right here. Dabi's room above Kurogyari's bar is always warm. Back at Fath Endeavor's home, it was warm as well, but in a different way. Every breath was a death rattle, his chest aching as he creaked through the house on soundless feet. At Dabi's, even if the room was small, it's really just a converted broom closet with a twin bed shoved in the corner. Dabi layered the room with blankets and pillows, reminding Shudo of those pillow forts he used to see on TV. Inko-san's home is warm as well, like the heat from an oven after cooking a fresh loaf of bread. Shudo shakes his head at the memory, no more bread. He's firmly shut the memory in a box and threw it at terminal velocity towards the FING sun, like most of his traumatic experiences. And while he prefers to sleep on her couch, both Dabi and Natsuo invited him to live with them, but Dabi has strange sleeping schedules and Natsuo shares a dorm room with two others. He tends to sleep on Dabi's floor once a week or so. He decided to sleep over last night, as Midoriya has finally recovered enough to leave Dabi's boss's bed for more than bathroom breaks and 3 a.m. incidences of eating everything in the fridge, the residential cryptid that he is. "You excited for school?" Dabi asks him, barely awake and not even hiding the fact that he's putting more rum into his drink than actual coffee. Shudo nods, setting his bowl of cereal down on the table in front of him before adding ice cubes from his hand into the milk. Dabi winces like he was shot, before skipping the coffee altogether and chugging rum straight from the bottle. "Inko-san made me a bento for lunch. It has little sausage octopuses." Dabi's lip twitches. "You're a simp for Midoriya." Don't look that up." Shudo slowly places his burner phone back down, knowing full well what simp means but reveling in any petty revenge he can get after his brother decided to fake his death for 10 years. "I know that look. Fess up." Putting down his spoon, Shudo straightens up, trying to look as serious as the matter feels. "What if," he starts slowly, "I can't make friends?" Dabi laughs at first, but rapidly realizes that Shudo is dead serious. "Oh shit." He glances around desperately. Where the hell is Natsu when you need him? He's tracking down a drag cartel and putting the fear of God into them, or otherwise he would be here, he said. Shudo says, straight face, and even opens up his messaging app to show Dabi. His brother reads the message. Shudo spent a solid 20 minutes last night deciphering between the wave of emojis and slang, and he only rubs his hand across his eyes in response. Okay, look. Dabi heaves a great sigh like this conversation is killing him. As long as you don't talk about you've had the SSC talk, right? Yes, Midoriya gave it to me. Shudo answers. Evenly. It was quite informative. To us. There was a PowerPoint and everything. They ordered pizza and made an afternoon of it, and Inko-san taught him how to use incognito mode. Shokin, it'll be helpful for a lot of things. Not only SSC, it showed me how to get the blood out of my new carpet after Himiko-chan's visit and how to word my prenup so I'll get my fair share when he dies. Dabi groans, head thudding against the kitchen table. Shudo wonders if he's trying to give himself brain damage. Unlikely, it would be much easier if he used the sharp corner instead of the wooden top. I don't want to think about Midori teaching you how to put a condom on a banana. Before Shudo can ask what bananas have to do with anything, Dabi picks himself up with a mutter. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yes, section. Just don't talk about SEC and you'll be fine. I think. Is that how you made friends? He asks curiously. Dabi flips him off. Get going, you'll be late. Shudo checks the time on his phone, and while it's still a comfortable amount left over, he goes back to eating his cereal, crunching on the ice loudly. Dabi gets up, mumbling something about not being paid enough for this. Why did I decide to be a brother again? It was better as an only child, and takes the rum bottle with him. His phone beeps, reminding him of one of the several group messaging apps Midoriya forcibly installed. There's some games downloaded too, which he plays whenever the others are involved in their more competitive console games. Currently, a game called Dream Daddy is his favorite. No Natsuo, he does not have daddy issues, he just thinks Craig is attractive. Toga understands him, though she called him basic for his tastes, whatever that means. King Simp. Good luck today, Izuku-kun, Shudo-kun. God Simp. Thanks Himiken. You're the best. Anti-simp. Choke on it and die. God Simp. Are you offering to Mukin? I bite smiley face. Army. Why are you biting? From somewhere further in the apartment, Dabi lets out a muffled screech. Simp magnet. Frechtfenf and 01F tell him. God Simp. It's a sec joke, Shouchin. Army. What does Frechtfenf mean then? Anti-simp. It's a key smash idiot. Army. How do I do that? King Simp. Just type anything you want. Army. Dabi laughs so hard Shudo has to get up to make sure he isn't actually choking. It'll be a good day, thinks. Meanwhile, Izuku is about ready to kill a beach. Love you, Mom. He calls out as he runs around the house like a chicken with its head cut off. Where did he put that notebook? His mom smirks at him, raising an eyebrow as she dangles his blackmail notebook from one hand. This one. Thank you. Izuku grins, throwing himself in a hug. She instantly hugs him back, rubbing his back and soothing any of his first day's nerves. You're the best, he says as he steps back, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. She playfully slaps his arm. You know I am. Now, your father called earlier, you were still asleep at Tokens, don't worry, and he wants to call you after your first day of high school. Despite himself, his face scrunches up. Does he have to? If you really don't want to. She says slowly, eyes moving across the ceiling oh so casually. But if you talk to him, he might just buy you that new PlayStation you wanted. Izuku narrows his eyes. God of War Edition? She nods with a smug grin, knowing she already has him. Fine. He acquiesces grudgingly, because a 10-minute awkward conversation would be worth it to have the white console with a matching controller and a price tag worth well over 100,000 yen. They shake on it, because they understand the value of deals, before Izuku realizes he's going to be late at this rate. I gotta go, I'll update you on how my day is going at lunch. He sends his text to Kurogyri, begging for a quick pickup. Please do. Ruffling his hair, she steps back as the unmistakable sound of Kurogyri's warp gate opening fills the room. Have a good day at school. Don't hurt yourself. And please, for the love of all that is sacred, don't kill someone on campus. Izuku waves goodbye. No promises. Which answer is that question for? Yes. eyes a dash. Bye. He jumps through the warp gate with a sharp salute, snickering at her exasperated sigh. It's like stepping out his front door, the change in air pressure and temperature that's just noticeable enough for him to hesitate for a beat. There's a glimmer of the warm amber of the bar, before he's falling through another gate onto something that squishes beneath him. Izuku doesn't have much time to dwell on that, mostly because 176 inches of pain lands directly on his solar plexus and grinds his spine into the dirt like skis in a mortar bowl. Hey Xiaochen. He wheezes. Shudo wheezes back from where he's starfished over him. Hey Midoriya. I see that you took Juriken's gate too. He notes. Shudo makes some kind of sound that, at best, would be described as a cat overcome with disgust at the absolute failures of humanity. Izuku's not sure if it's aimed towards himself, Izuku, Kurogyari, or the world in general. Eventually, both of them manage to climb to their feet, clutching their aching stomachs and glaring half-heartedly at each other. He finally manages to take a look at what he landed on, and his face scrunches up at the sheer pettiness of it. A dumpster? Really, Juriken? Having somehow fully predicted this, Shudo whips out a Febreze can from his bag and douses himself liberally. Want some? He offers, shaking the bottle. Izuku sighs, spreading his arms out. Why not? Shudo quickly showers him down like it's bug spray with a bottle labeled as Downy April Fresh. At least Izuku has good friends. And even mildly annoyed, Kurogyari only dropped them a street over from Ue. Izuku knew the old grump liked him somewhere in that cold, dead heart of his that only cares about Tamura for some reason. He's not touching whatever weird pseudo-parental, exasperated adult versus whiny man-child dynamic they have going on with a 10-foot pole. Have a good day at school, Xiaochen. Izuku waves his best friend goodbye at the gate, ignoring all the weird looks they get as they take turns taking pictures in front of the entrance. Both of them are going on his mom's wall, and considering he would literally kill God for her, everyone else can burn. Quite literally, as Shudo sets fire to someone's Endeavor keychain in revenge for their snickering. Or it might just be because it's Endeavor, who knows? Emerge from your chrysalis like the beautiful social butterfly you were always meant to be. A strange, almost frantic light passes over Shudo's eyes. A social butterfly? Midoriya, you're a goddamn genius. I'm going to go make friends. All the friends. Izuku pats his shoulder. God help them all. He mutters under his breath. What was that? Nothing. Shudo pauses in front of his classroom, looking at the freakishly large door. Like, is this really necessary? But no, he has more important things, and that is his solemn duty to making friends. He's never really had any before, discounting Dabi and Natsuo, who are his literal brothers, and Midoriya, who's more like an affectionate parasite that bribes people into following them home before locking the door and gently kidnapping them. Inko-san, of course, is a goddess among men and doesn't count. Opening the door, he eyes the occupants, choosing his first target with precision after checking the seating chart on the teacher's desk. Want to be friends? The girl with a ponytail blinks. Sure. He sits down next to her in his assigned seat, mentally fist-bumping at already making a friend. He's so good at this. Great. I'm Shirakumo Tuya, nice to meet you. No, he did not choose the last name. Rather, when they were drafting his current fake ID so he could go see Dr. Shinso on Fridays, Kurogyari was the one in charge of sketching up a fake name, as Shudo couldn't be bothered to pick one. They couldn't choose Midoriya, in case of plausible deniability, and that was the only one he truly wanted, so Shirakumo it was. When Shudo asked about the origin, Kurogyari himself seemed confused on where it came about. The first name was 100% intentional though. Dabi made the most hilarious face when Shudo chose it, and every time it's mentioned, his whole body spasms like he's having a seizure. Natsuo, naturally, finds it hilarious as well. Yayorozu Momo. She answers hesitantly, hands folded neatly in front of her. In a way, she reminds him of Magna, perhaps it's the big sister aura they carry, as Inko-san would say. It's a pleasure to meet you, Shirakumo-kun. Nope, he's not gonna get used to that one. The boy sitting in front of Yayorozu spins in his rolling chair. His inner Midoriya is chirping at how this is such a bad idea. He gently, but firmly, tells his inner Midoriya to leave him alone and go cause chaos elsewhere, to face them and grins widely. But overheard your conversation, and wow, I like your passion Shirakumo. Yurashi Inesa, at your service. Nice to meet you, call me Inesa. Yaoyorozu waves her hands frantically. Oh, I couldn't. Sure you should. Inesa leans forward with an eager smile. Shudo hums. Call me Tuya then. It'll be easier to respond to that than Shirakumo. Want to be friends? Of course. Inesa agrees easily, and Yaoyorozu's face is so red he's worried she's having a sunburn. Maybe she's overheating? He cools down the temperature around him, just be sure. We should get food after class together. How about udon? He frowns. Oh, I prefer cold soba. It's important to be honest with your friends, after all. Inesa makes a fist, still grinning widely. I know a place that has both. Oh, that's a totally different story then. Okay then. Yaoyorozu still looks a little flustered. Maybe she's feeling left out? It's okay, you're still my friend. He comforts her. Now we're all friends. And going to eat soba and udon. He's looking forward to it. She puts her face in her hands, ears burning a bright pink. That's not the problem. He tilts his head to the side, but before he can say anything, a monotone voice silences the entire classroom. If you're here to make friends, then go ahead and leave. Guess he won't be mentioning his mission out loud then. That's okay, he can be stealthy. Shudo turns to look with his two other friends, and can't help his single blink in reply. In the frankly ridiculous doorway, a man with shaggy hair stands in a sleeping bag, shedding it gracefully like a butterfly. He whispers, drawing weird looks from both Yaoyorozu and Inesa. Welcome to the hero course, it took 8 seconds before you were quiet. The butterfly congratulates them dryly. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa Shoyuda. Nice to meet you. Put your gym uniforms on and meet me outside in 10 minutes. Midoriya. Hitoshi tries not to look too excited when Izuku walks through the perfectly normal-sized door, but obviously fails. He's adorable. Or utterly terrified at the sheer amount of future corporate sharks filling the room and eyeing each other warily. I saved you a seat. Nice. Izuku grins, skipping across the classroom and sliding into the seat behind Hitoshi next to the windows. The other boy spins in his rolling chair, and wait, what, they have rolling chairs? He scoots back and forth testingly, and yep, there's definitely wheels on his chair. Oh, he's definitely going to abuse that at some point, just wait and see. Where were you? Class is starting soon. Hitoshi asks, almost accusingly for having abandoned him to the woods, and Izuku stifles a laugh. Just wandering around. Did you know that there's a highly complex and vast vent system that spans the entire classroom building and even some in the gyms? He smiles innocently at Hitoshi's glare. Just saying. Hitoshi glares harder. There's dust on your shoulder. Without looking away, Izuku brushes it off. Hitoshi raises an eyebrow, and with his eye bags, the look is much more threatening than it should be. Izuku actually has a theory about his insomnia being linked to how mental quirks often can't be turned off. Nice try, but wrong shoulder. I totally knew that. Izuku lies, wiping off his other shoulder. Hitoshi opens his mouth, no doubt to call him out on his bullshit, but the bell finally rings and saves Izuku from being roasted like a finely grilled sea bass. Hitoshi sends him his "this isn't over" look, to which Izuku replies with his best "I've never done anything wrong in my life ever" expression. Unfortunately, it's not very effective, if at all. Dress. The bell has barely finished before Boots with a heel that is way too long for field work kick open the perfectly average-sized door with an unnecessary amount of drama and noise. Wow, he's already liking it here. Hello boys and girls, I'm your homeroom teacher, Kayama Nimuri. For the next 3 years, I'm going to teach all of you naive children how to beat the industry until it's your whimpering plaything. Midnight, the R-rated hero, tightens her whip with a threatening smirk. Pleased to make your acquaintance. What the F did you get me into? Hitoshi whisper screams frantically. Izuku just pats his fluffy hair. It's too late, but if they die now, they'll die together at least. Where have you been? Aizawa asks them in irritation when the entire class shows up to the field 20 minutes late. A brown-haired girl with pink cheeks raises her hand slowly. Sensei, you didn't tell us where the locker rooms were. Or the field. There's a pause, before Aizawa groans and pinches his nose. Fine, you get a pass on that one. Line up, we're doing a quirk assessment test. Overall, Shudo thinks he does a pretty good job. Yaoyorozu scores first, with Inesa in second and him in third. There's a blonde boy in fourth that seems vaguely familiar and is practically frothing at the mouth. You! He growls when the assessment is over and the rest of the class is making their way back to the locker room. What the hell is with your quirk? Shudo tilts his head to the side. I can heat and cool the water molecules near me in order to create what you see as ice and fire. Not quite, but it's the closest approximation to his quirk that isn't half cold, half hot. It's a very unique one, after all, and Endeavor is still under the opinion that he's been kidnapped. Well, that's sorta true. He scowls internally. He should have listened to his instincts when they started screaming about the smiling boy with green hair who approached him on his way home from school. Now look at him, he has feelings now. Not what I was asking. The blonde boy growls. Were you dropped on your head as a child or what? Bold of you to assume I was held. He answers without thinking twice. Silence. His classmates share troubled looks as the blonde boy looks like he's 30 seconds away from a nervous breakdown. I'm hungry. Shudo announces out loud. They have been out here all morning after all. Yaoyorozu touches his arm gently. Let's go to the lunchroom together then, Tuyakun. Inesa pats his other shoulder. Onward. He cheers, and both of his new friends push him back into the building, not allowing him to look back once. Off to the side, Aizawa watches him with an unreadable expression. They're taking turns introducing themselves, and by the virtue of being later on in the class roster, Izuku can just sit back and let his anxiety stew while they introduce their names and quirks. Great, another reminder on how they're living in a dystopia. Eventually, it's Hitoshi's turn. I'm Shinso Hitoshi, and my quirk is brainwashing. I can control people who respond to me, and no, I've never committed a crime beyond mild trespassing. Said incident was because there was a cat in the window who looked sad. At least the owner was very understanding. Shinso, your quirk would be great for business. Kayama snaps her whip eagerly as she stops next to his desk, but Hitoshi only frowns uglily. I'm not gonna break the law. The entire class jarks at Kayama's loud laughter. Ha ha dash, she grabs his shoulder with wild eyes. Shinso, my sweet summer child, do you think there's laws in the business world? Hitoshi, wisely, sits back down and shuts up. Next. She snaps her whip towards Izuku, and he stands up with a soft smile. And then proceeds to lose his brain-to-mouth filter. I think the entire hero system is a deck of cards that's about to collapse, and I have no intentions of going into managing the business side of heroes, but instead taking advantage of the amount of weight UA holds for college applications and your internship opportunities. Oh yeah, I'm Midoriya Izuku, and I'm quirkless, but that just means I'm legally able to carry around a taser and no will believe I'm the perpetrator of an assault charge. Let's get along now, Kay? Kayama only bares her teeth in a grin. I like you. Thanks. He grins back just as dangerously. I like me too. Hitoshi groans and smashes his face into the desk. Is it too late to go back to General? Like they're all working on some unheard signal. As one, they all start chanting, one of us. One of us. One of us. Hitoshi looks like he's regretting every single one of his decisions that led him to this point, but mostly his sheer existence as the entire class plus Kayama start screaming loudly as they prepare for the war ahead. Or, high school. Shirakumo. Aizawa's face curdles as he says his face name, looking pained for a brief moment before it fades back into perpetual blankness. Stay after class. I'll meet you at the gate. He reassures Yaoyorozu and Inesa, and then pulls out his phone to message Midoriya and Inko-san to be sure. Inko-san replies with a thumbs up and congratulations for making friends, causing him to feel fuzzy, while Midoriya leaves him on read. Surprisingly, Last Shudo saw him, he was talking to a group of rapt management students at lunch like he was a cult leader and they were all his loyal servants. Choosing to stand by the teacher's desk, he waits patiently for the rest of the class to clear out, until Aizawa shuts the door. Then he glares at Shudo. "What's your name?" Shudo blinks. Isn't his name on the roll card? Besides, Aizawa just called him by it. Maybe he forgot about it. Inko-san did say once that older people forget things more often after he spent half an hour looking for her keys which were in her pocket the whole time. "I'm Shirakumo Tuya." "Don't lie to me." Aizawa shuffles towards the desk, glaring at him with red and baggy eyes. "You're clearly Todoroki Shudo." "No, I'm not. I'm Shirakumo Tuya." Shudo immediately lies once again. Listening to authority figures is overrated. Except for Inko-san. He would die for her. Aizawa narrows his eyes. The hair dye and quirk name change might have fooled most people, but you have a very distinctive scar. He shrugs. "Wow, what a coincidence." He says monotonously. "I could call Endeavor." Aizawa warns. Well, he wants to be a hero, but not that badly. Sleeping on Inko-san's couch and watching Married at First Sight all day doesn't sound too bad either. Maybe he could do some minor jobs for Dabi's boss to pay her back, though he's seen her bank statements when he runs errands with her. She doesn't need the money, not with what her husband sends her every week, but he could still buy her something nice. Maybe a new quilt. She likes the one that looks like a fried egg they saw on a commercial. But I won't. Shudo blinks up at his teacher, not bothering to hide his surprise. "Whatever the reason you ran away, you're in one shape, you're being fed, and you seem happy. Are you staying someplace safe?" He slowly nods, and Aizawa lets out a sigh of relief. "Good. If that ever changes, here's my number." Aizawa hands him a post-it note with a series of digits on it and a doodle of a cat in the corner. "Any questions?" "There is one, actually. A burning question that's been on his mind all morning, entwined so deeply in his being that he thinks of it every step of the way." He looks up at Aizawa with eyes burning brightly and asks, "How do you make friends?" Aizawa chokes. He wipes his mouth, looking frantically around. Go ask President Mike about that. I have a staff meeting. Right now. Goodbye, stay safe, I'll see you tomorrow." With that, he full-on sprints out the door left flapping behind him. There's a rustling sound above him, and the vent's grate moves out of the way for a head full of green. "I thought he would never leave." Midoriya complains. There's some kind of makeshift stun gun in his hands, but Shudo figures it's better not to ask as his roommate climbs out of the vent and lands neatly on the sparkling boy's desk. "Himeken and I are going shopping after this, so I'll walk you to the gate." "Sure." Shudo replies, holding his hand out to help Midoriya down, which the other boy takes with an indulgent grin. "Oh, I made some friends today, I think." "Nice." Midoriya grins, dragging him into a quick side hug as they walk down UA's corridors together. "I don't think I made any friends, sadly, but people are calling me a prophet for some reason. I don't know, but Hiken keeps sighing and Mei-chan finds it hilarious. Cult leader." Shudo whispers under his breath. "What was that?" "What was what?" "Do you feel better now, Shigaraki Tamura?" Kurojairi asks him with that stupid patronizing tone from the rooftop of a business center across the street. "Shut up." He grunts, adjusting his binoculars as he tracks Izuku and Dabi's brat walk down UA's ridiculously shiny hallways. The entire place gives him the heebie-jeebies, with its shiny symbols and crisp uniforms and all might. "Shut up," Dabi grunts, though Tamura hasn't said anything, probably detecting an incoming rant. He peers down at the duo through his own binoculars, laying down over the edge of the rooftop in a lazy sprawl. "I'm trying to lip read over here." Actually, lip reading only has an about 30% success rate and is much more difficult than it's portrayed in the media. Compress pipes up, helpfully, and both Tamura and Dabi wave at him dismissively at the same time. They pause, glaring at each other fiercely before they go back to spying. "Isn't this a bit stalkerish?" "Not that I care." Twice pops in from where he's playing Pokemon Go. He spent the last 3 hours battling the business center's gym back and forth with his Mystic team, only stopping to occasionally do a raid and res wipe the Pokemon stops. I think it's cute. Toga giggles, not at all matching how aggressively she taps as she takes out twice Sprellum for the nth time that day and reclaims the gym as with her instinct Blissey. Fools, Valor is obviously the best team. Besides, this way we'll know if someone bullies Izuku-kun or Shudo-kun. And then we kill them. The entire league says in sync. Kurogiri stifles a cough into his hand after a few more minutes have passed. If I may, I suggest we start packing up soon. I have a chicken roasting in the oven for dinner. Simultaneously, they all make a face. For all that Kurogiri can do literally everything, from bartending to caretaking to tending to bullet wounds to running a FNG garden, that man can't cook for the life of him. I am hungry, Compress considers, because he has no taste buds and has completely and utterly embraced his role as Kurogiri's emotional support for dealing with all of their bullshit. Tamura groans. I just paid for all of your lunches so you wouldn't be hungry. He may be a villain, but he's not a heathen. They got McDonald's barely 2 hours ago. Spinner is still painstakingly dipping his food into his half-melted milkshake and eating a single fry at a time. Tamura shudders at just the idea of it. Magna borrows one of Kurogiri's extra binoculars, peering down at them curiously. Oh, it looks like they're leaving now. Tamura whips his binoculars back to his eyes, barely noticing Dabi doing the same next to him. Copycat. Sure enough, Midoriya and his little friend are walking towards the gate, where a girl with a ponytail and a bald kid wait. The stripes on their shoulders signifies their hero course, so that means they're Dabi's problem now. Kurogiri, I'm gonna need a file on those too. Dabi says urgently, white-knuckling his binoculars. I don't trust hero students. Are you sure you're not feeling jealous, Dabi-kun? Toga teases and Dabi sputters. What? No, why the hell would I be jealous of my kid brother? Dabi yells, waving his binocular frantically. Beside having a heat-resistant gene, not having his entire body horribly disfigured, and generally being a functioning member of society? I think it's less being jealous and more along the lines of protectiveness. Magna corrects gently, and Dabi can't even say anything because it's Magna. It's like the third most important rule in the league after video game custody rights, and when it's okay to maim each other, don't ignore Magna's advice because she knows all. I imagine you didn't have a good time in school, did you? Dabi refuses to answer. Toga frowns down at her lap, something undeniably sad about her. Teenagers can be cruel. Not just teenagers. Spinner says as equally soft. They, more than most, understand how monstrous this world is for things you can't control. Midoriya, for all he says he's a villain and is more than willing to twist the system to fit his needs, still believes the world is inherently good. And Tamura doesn't mind that. Positivity usually irritates him, but not with Midoriya. Maybe it's because he also understands how cruel people can be, especially about quirks, but he still finds a reason to smile. His little friend is the same way, for all that he hides behind a blank expression, and it's why Tamura tolerates Dabi's brother living with them part of the time. Can't have our support members getting hurt, after all. Tamura stands up, shoving his hands in his pockets as the entire league watch the blob of green wave goodbye to the other green blob. It's near impossible to tell them apart at this height. We haven't unlocked all the cutscenes yet. Compress elbows him. You can just say you're worried about them. Tamura screeches, face red as a tomato. Shut the F up. Magna pokes out her leg from behind the crate they're hiding behind. Feel my leg I just shaved? Himiko gingerly touches it. Oh, God. She whispers, stroking her hand up and down her leg. It's so soft. Guys, we are literally under attack. Spinner hisses, peeking his head up only to throw himself down as another row of flying thorns attempt to decapitate him. This is not the time. Twice joins Himiko in touching Magna's leg. I don't know about you guys, but this is looking pretty bad. I'm not worried at all. Okay, I'm pretty terrified, let's leave. Could you fuckers keep it down? I'm trying to think. Tamura growls, hands clasped over his head, probably to contain the giant headache they're giving him. And the large head wound he has that's spilling copious amounts of blood all over the floor, that too. Don't worry, trying anything for the first time is hard. Dabi reassures him with a patronizing pat on his shoulder, his other hand holding his face together where a few staples popped. Spinner screamed and almost stabbed himself with his sword monstrosity when he saw the inside of Dabi's mouth from his cheek. I get the sense we've finally encountered a problem where murder and arson aren't the optimal solutions. Izuku pipes up from where he's nursing several bad bruises on his ribs from where a villain got a lucky hit. Himiko, who's covered in blood and absolutely delighted about it, grabs his hand and puts it on Magna's other leg under her bemused gaze. Whoa, it really is soft. He pets her leg like a skittish cat, wondering if he should start shaving his own legs if they always feel this nice. So what, we try diplomacy? Tamura groans. Dabi raises an eyebrow. Let's not get carried away here. Tamura grits his teeth and looks about 30 seconds from killing Dabi and dumping his body in the river. He can't do that. Dabi is one of their few long-range members and he knows it. Well, we're FING stuck in a warehouse with an outlying branch of some villain assholes who thought it would be a great idea to take a potshot at the League of FING villains. I'm open to some DMN suggestions here. How about a tactical retreat? Compress suggests gently. He's the least injured out of all of them, with his mask only slightly cracked and what's sure to be a nasty cut on his ankle. What's that? Spinner raises a hand. It's like running away, but cooler. You know you're F'd when Tamura actually starts considering it. Unfortunately, they don't have time to actually make said retreat, as the leader of the opposing villain branch starts to get cocky at their hiding. It's not their fault that Dabi needs time to cool down before he cooks his organs like pasta in the oven, and Kurogiri is currently on his lunch break with his phone turned off. What? Is the big bad league too scared to come out and fight face to face? Izuku face palms. They were so close to getting home before dinner. Change of plans. Tamura says coldly. We're going to go out there and beat the living shit out of those mobs. The leader laughs, though he sounds a bit nervous. Go ahead and try it, princess. You'll find yourself skewed before you can even stand up. Tamura is practically frothing at the mouth at this point, ready to launch himself out from their hiding place, flying Thornspeed Med, only for Himiko to grab his shoulder. Oh shit. Oh if dash. That's their run for your live smile. Pro tip. Himiko says sweetly, dropping her bloodied knife in Izuku's hand and lifting her sweater up. All of them avert their eyes, even if they know she has a shirt underneath it, and only glance back when they feel the movement of it falling back down. So that's why the entire League of Villains has a collective heart attack at the sight of Himiko's holding a FING machete. If a guy calls you a princess in a condescending manner, assert your newly appointed royal status and have him beheaded. With that sweet statement, she charges right into the foray, screaming her head off. The other villains are screaming too, but in absolute terror at least. Let's join her, I suppose? Compress asks slowly, so lost. Izuku can't blame him. They trade looks. Shrug. Launch themselves into the fight with absolutely no regard to their health or Kurogiri's emotional sanity. Izuku ends up squaring against someone with a minor telekinesis quirk, who only snorts dismissively at his borrowed knife. What are you going to do? Stab me? Well, that kind of answers that, doesn't it? I'm gonna kill you. The guy hollers, holding his bleeding thigh and probably dislocated kneecap. He panicked, okay? Izuku laughs manically. You can't kill me if I kill myself first. What kind of logic is that? Spinner yelps from where he duking it out with someone who's transformed into a giant bull. He's currently using his red scarf like a muleta in a bullfight. What is his life? Dabi drawls from somewhere near the ceiling where he's hanging on the metal bars by knees for some reason. Izuku is pretty sure he's taking selfies. The lighting in the warehouse is pretty nice. The worst kind. Izuku shakes his knife at him. Those are bold words for someone within stabbing range. A little help here? Nope, I got it, everything's a-okay. Twice does a triple backflip by him, so Izuku kicks the guy's blown-out kneecap and charges after the three people riding skateboards, ignoring the guy's whines as he passes out from the pain. Wimp. He didn't even hit any arteries with his knife. Himiko cuts in front of him, shrieking in uncontrolled glee at the woman with floating blue hair. She looks at Himiko, looks at Twice, then at Izuku, before visibly deciding to F it and sprints out there, a literal child chasing after her with a machete. Twice can handle one guy, so Izuku goes after the guy with metal claws like a knockoff Wolverine. At least Wolverine is mildly attractive. I'm going to defeat you with the power of friendship and this knife I found. Izuku tells him very seriously. So please stay still? He does not stay still. At least Izuku's been taking up running lately, so chasing him down screaming the entire time isn't that hard. When he comes back, most everyone has knocked out their opponents or is helping those who haven't, so Izuku hangs back to where Himiko and Spinner are either stealing blood or weapons. You have 3 guesses who, and the first 2 don't count. You shouldn't be using a straw. Spinner scolds lightly as he frisks someone down. They make a groaning noise, suds slipping out of their mouth, and Izuku quickly knocks them out with a kick to the head. Nope, nope, nope. Not today, motherfucker. Himiko sighs like a war veteran returning home after having seen the horrors of humanity, a pink swirly straw that makes the word beach slipping out of her mouth. I know, it's bad for the environment. It's just a really weird way to drink blood. Spinner says. Dabi and Twice shamble up to them, leaving Magna and Compress to help defeat some girl who's more slippery than she looks. You realize this is one of the many reasons we call you creepy, right? Dabi raises an eyebrow. Spinner nods. We actually made a list. It's 17 pages. Single-spaced. Himiko pouts. Let me live my life in peace. Ah, it's okay, Toga-chan. Twice pats her hair. We're all creepy anyhow, to be fair. Izuku crouches down next to her and hugs her shoulders. We love you, Himiko. You're the only one I like in this household, Izuku. Himiko decides, making Izuku smile and instinctively evade the knife to his side. He pointedly does not say that he wrote 12 out of those 17 pages, in case the friendly knife stabbing becomes a whole lot less friendly. It's at this exact moment the Lady Tamura's fighting throws a fistful of dust in his face while he's mid-monologue about who has the better dusting quirk. He opens his mouth, face scrunched up in preparation for another hissy fit, only to sneeze. Loudly. Several times. Magna takes the distraction to knock the lady out with her giant magnet, looking over at the still sneezing Tamura in concern. Are you okay? I have a dust allergy. Tamura says, glaring at all of their shocked looks. Compress opens his mouth, but another sneeze and the middle finger interrupts him. Yes, I realize that's ironic. As long as you know. Compress pets Tamura's hair like one would to a particularly disgruntled cat. Tamura sneezes once more and seethes silently. I was gone for an hour. Kurogiri shouts. Tamura shrugs, rubbing his runny nose. We wanted slushies. Said slushies are a little banged up and melted, but none of them care as they lay around Kurogiri's bar in various states of injury. They really need a team medic, but not many of those tend to turn towards villainy. Shame. Kurogiri sighs, pinching the bridge of his non-existent nose. Just don't move. He leaves for a bit, probably having a brief nervous breakdown in the back room, before returning with a bottle of allergy pills. Tamura. Kurogiri warns when Tamura looks like he's about to protest. Ooh, no last name, someone's in trouble. Tamura glumly takes the offered pills and downs with a pout. You're not the boss of me. He mutters petulantly. Kurogiri gives him the dad glares. Well, someone has to look for the welfare of this team since you apparently only care about yourself. Wrong. Tamura points at him victoriously. But also care about video games. No one points out how that statement really isn't helping him. Why a machete? Compress changes the subject with the tact of a bull, and considering Izuku saw one go through a low-bearing wall today and almost bring the ceiling on their heads, he can say it's pretty and graceless. They take it anyhow, because none of them are willing to touch what Kurogiri and Tamura have going on with a 20-foot pole wrapped in barbed wire. It's basically just a big knife. Himiko explains, lifting it up from where she's cleaning it, or trying to lick it when she thinks nobody is looking and almost cutting her tongue off the entire time. I always carry a bunch of them on me at the same time. If anything happens and I lose my first knife, bam. Another knife. Lose the second one? Bam. Another knife. By your definition. Spinner begins, looking intrigued. What counts as a knife for you? Her grin widens. Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy? At this point, Tamura's fallen asleep mid-argument, Kurogiri smoothing a blanket over his shoulders and tightening his gloves so he doesn't accidentally disintegrate the bar while asleep. Izuku creeps closer, intrigued by the rare sight of Tamura's bare face without a dead hand covering it. So of course he takes a picture of it and sends it to Cryptid Sightings. Kurogiri gives him an admonishing look, but Izuku just shrugs. He has to take what little joy when he can, okay? But really, Tamura's sleeping pretty deeply, even doped up, if he's not waking up to Himiko's and Spinner's spur-of-the-moment knife show and tell. Is Temukin going to be okay? Izuku asks in concern. Aside from being living proof that humans are doomed as a species, he's fine. Kurogiri replies flatly. You think that's a knife? Spinner cackles, whipping out his giant sword made of knives. This is a knife. Himiko wails, collapsing to the floor, hugging a medieval stiletto blade the side of her forearm. It's okay, Stab-chan, I still love you. She sobs to the dagger. The entire league is chanting Spinner's name, with Twice and Magna even picking him on their shoulders like he's a football player who just won the winning score at the Super Bowl. Tamura keeps sleeping, a pile of drool forming on Kurogiri's precious countertops. That reminds me, where is Dabi? Kurogiri asks, glancing around the bar. The league quiets down, all of them looking for their residential pyromaniac with daddy issues. Oh my god, we lost him. Himiko breathes. Kurogiri grabs one of his special wines from the top shelf that the entire league isn't supposed to touch under the pain of quadruple amputation via warp gate, pops the cork, and then chugs it like a man dying of thirst. Dabi was neither lost or, as the more hysterical members of the league would insist, twice kidnapped, but rather getting himself something to drink. His slushy got knocked over by a very enthusiastic toga with a FING machete, so he's at the nearest drink place, finding the coldest, most bland thing his stomach can handle. Also, Shudo's never had boba tea before and it's a FING disgrace. He's ashamed of him. Waiting in line with a scarf pulled up to his nose and a pair of sunglasses on, Dabi endures the terrified looks of the cashiers believing they're about to be robbed. See, he would, but he's promised his brothers he would be at Midori's house by 3 and also he's really FNG lazy. Get someone else from the league to do that sheet. His phone buzzes from the group chat between him and his brothers, reminding him that he should probably get them something too unless he wants to be fending off thieving raccoons with their monstrous bite sizes all night. N is for anywhere and anytime at all. You okay, Sho? You seemed a little out of it yesterday. Yesterday consisted of them crashing in Natsuo's dorm room and eating enough discounted White Day candy to put them into a sugar coma while watching animated movies. To be honest, Dabi doesn't remember much past Shrek, having passed out on Natsuo's cold concrete floor 3 inches in front of the blaring TV. He's slept in worse places. It's for you and me. I'm fine, I was just thinking of something. Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. Owo? Does our whittle Showodo ha crush? Is for you and me. Is the Easter Bunny the Catholic Church's persona? Fuck boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. I hate this FNG family. Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. You're legally obligated to care about us. Fuck boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. Joke's on you, I'm legally dead so the laws don't apply to me. Is for you and me. Does this mean you don't pay taxes? Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. You don't pay taxes? Fuck boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. I'm a villain, why the F would I pay taxes? Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. BC, you're secretly nice underneath all that. I don't care about anything but revenge and video games? Is for you and me. Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. You're like an onion. Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. And it's one question. What the actual F is for you and me? You have layers. Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. I do not have layers, WTF. I'm as flat as the earth. Is for you and me. The earth isn't flat though. Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. Leave me alone, I'm legally dead. What boba tea do you all you freeloaders want, BTW? Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. Honeydew for me. And, get strawberry milk for show. Is for you and me. Is this because of the hair? Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. It is 100% because of the hair. Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. Is for you and me. Do you want me to kill you? Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. Honestly? Atsuo is for anywhere and anytime at all. TNI know. Boy, ice for fire that burns down the whole town. TNI yes. Dabi puts his phone away as he reaches the front of the line, being careful to show his hands at all times to the cashier who looks like one shake away from calling the police. Can I have 3 larges, a honeydew, a strawberry milk, and a chilled black milk tea? Sure, she stutters, taking his cash with trembling hands. He would smile at her to reassure her, but his lower face is pretty terrifying even when he isn't covered in blood from fixing his missing staples. The drinks are done in record time, the shop all too happy to get rid of Dabi. Too bad for them, his stomach actually feels good enough today for him to add condiments to his bland tea. Hell yeah, he mutters as he squeezes honey into his cup. Get in the leaf juice UCC, CCB sauce. Someone next to him chokes. Dabi glances over, only to meet someone else wearing a gigantic trench coat, a scarf wrapped around the majority of their face and hair, and a pair of sunglasses. It's like looking at a twin in Rush disguises. Do you take constructive criticism? They croak quietly. Dabi winks from behind his heavily tinted sunglasses. I absolutely do not. With that, he takes the drinks and escapes out the shop before the cops really do get called on him. His phone buzzes once he's halfway down the street, and with some finagling, he manages to check it. One's from the group chat with his brothers, and considering the last message is from Shudo asking if they want their ice cream with pulp or no pulp, just no. Another's from the group chat with the league, which he muted after Toga spent 3 solid FING hours spamming with pictures of Yandere aesthetics, and the last is from, I don't have enough money for chicken nuggets. Yo, I saw the weirdest dressed guy today. Chicken Nuggets, otherwise known as the guy he's catfishing from Grindr, who sends him a couple thousand yen a week in exchange for him to send voice recordings because apparently he talks like a ASMRtist pawn actor. He literally just sent an hour-long video 3 weeks ago consisting entirely of him beaching about his coworkers, and Chicken Nuggets sent him a tip big enough for him to eat comfortably for the next month, saying that it made his day. He laughed so hard. The league wishes they had what he did. 69 cents, degree. Well, same actually. Dabi meets with his brothers in front of Midori's house, Natsuo aimlessly turning in circles on his skateboard while Shudo watches in absolute enrapturement. What are y'all waiting for? He drawls, passing out their boba drinks. Natsuo happily chugs his, while Shudo cautiously takes a sip, before his eyes go hilariously big. Dabi sticks his straw in his mouth, making a face at how much it's cooled down, and without looking away from his drink, Shudo sticks his finger against his cup, icing it instantly. No, he's not envious. That Shudo's basically his own environmental control system. Shut up. It's hard enough already for Dabi to be the gay brother, the punk brother, and the family failure, but someone's got to do it, and evidentially you either get a decent quirk and no personality or sheet one and enough personality to fuel a small army, the entire goddamn league. Just you. Natsuo does another lazy loop, looking like the epitome of every skater delinquent out there with his bloodied knuckles and jersey tight around his biceps. A couple of teenage girls passing by swoon, with one even needing her friend to guide her away. Her face is so red. It's a nice day out, and I think Inko-san might have guests. Dabi pops his sunglasses and scarf back on right as Shudo whips out his eyebrow pencil and starts furiously dotting his face, because for some reason he's convinced that's the ultimate disguise. Natsuo, meanwhile, just rolls his eyes at their paranoia and leads them into Midori's house, skateboard tucked underneath his arm. "Your kids sound absolutely delightful." Inko-san's voice floats through the house, where she must be talking to the guests in the living room. "You'll have to tell me stories of them later." Izuku was always a quieter child, so it's hard to believe they can be so rambunctious. Natsuo strolls towards the entryway of the living room ahead of the two of them, speaking before he even passes the threshold. "Sorry for interrupting, but would it be okay?" His shoulders tense up in a manner that Dabi recognizes even 10 years later. As if they've never dulled, long-ago instincts come roaring back into Dabi's brain, and his monkey hindbrain flings himself backwards safely away from the entryway against the hallway wall before the intruder can see him. Shudo stares at him with wide eyes, desperately glancing back between the both of them to see what he should do. "I didn't know you were here," Natsuo says, voice shaking. "How did you find this place?" "Oh, I just followed you last week." Todoroki Fuyumi, Dabi's twin sister and also single-handedly the most terrifying person in the world, tells Natsuo from where she's calmly having tea in the living room with Inko-san. Shudo, realizing just how effed they are, slinks into the wall next to Dabi and stares into space with an absolutely shitting his pants expression. Natsuo sputters. "I rooftop jumped." "So?" Fuyumi inquires, in an exact imitation of Elwood's "what, like it's hard?" "Who's that in the hallway with you?" "I heard at least another set of footprints." Dabi experiences one of those surges of adrenaline they show in movies or news clips, where mothers pull cars off their children or drag people out of burning houses. All of his muscles tense one by one, his breath picking up speed as his head whips around. And he grabs Shudo by the collar of his sheet and literally tosses him right into the line of fire. "Shudo!" There's the sound of a teacup shattering. "Oh, haven't heard from you in months. I thought you were. The youngest of the siblings ducks his head, glowering at Dabi from the corner of his eye. "I'm sorry, Nei-san." Shudo shuffles his feet, pink growing along his cheeks. "I kinda got kidnapped and then, I didn't want to leave. It's nice here. I get to eat as much as I want and can sleep all day if I want to, though I try to sleep at night so I can marathon Food Network with Inko-san in the morning. Lately, I've been learning how to knit. It's been really fun." "Oh, Shudo," Fuyumi whispers, and then Shudo is charging into the living room to hug her. Dabi sighs in relief. He can sneak out through the window once they settle down and hopefully with a couple of bribes, Shudo will forget this ever happened. Unlikely. He'll be waking up with pink hair for the next 2 weeks, but he doesn't regret it for an instant. "I wish you would have contacted me, but I don't blame you for wanting to leave." She sighs. "Father and I really were worried about you, Shudo. He's been tearing up the entire country looking for you. I just wish you knew someone was in your corner, and that if you needed time away, I would have helped you. After Tuya, I can't handle losing another sibling." "Tuya, right?" Shudo states monotonously, the absolutely shitty liar that he is. Luckily, Fuyumi is too overwrought with emotion at seeing her baby brother alive that she doesn't notice his odd tone. "Now." Fuyumi's voice deepens, and Natsuo visibly shudders. He feels that so badly. "Repeat what you said about the kidnapping again?" Dabi smacks his face and then freezes. "What was that?" Fuyumi asks, voice sharp. Natsuo laughs nervously. "Who else is in the hallway, Natsu?" His darling twin asks sweetly, and Natsuo looks 30 seconds away from a nervous breakdown. Dabi sighs silently, setting down his tea on a nearby table, before awkwardly stepping into the entryway, hands raised in surrender. "Hi, Fuyumi." If Dabi was expecting the same kind of reunion, he was sorely mistaken. Fuyumi stares at him for a long moment, jaw dropped and eyes wide behind her glasses, before her face steels. "You." "Me." Dabi points to himself with a squeak. "You left me," Fuyumi begins slowly. "On dish-washing duty for 10 years. Where the hell have you been?" Dabi scratches the back of his head, avoiding eye contact. I accidentally indulged in too much me time? Without looking away from him, Fuyumi reaches down, grabs a throw pillow, and flings it at his head hard enough he topples backwards into Natsuo. You've been reported missing for a decade. Everyone thought you died. I made your shrine Hayashi Chuka every year for our birthday and cried the entire time cooking it. She flings out her arms in a mixture of rage and embarrassment. Oh shit. Yep, he's dead. He's so dead. I love you. He squeaks. Wrong move. Fuyumi grabs the actual FING coffee table and lifts it up over her head. That's it. She practically breathes fire, glaring at him with dagger eyes. You're dead to me. I thought I was already dead to you. Dabi says immediately, because the League has 1-1, Brain Cell and Kurogiri has it. At least he's fast enough to dodge Fuyumi dropping the coffee table with an inarticulate cry of rage and launching herself at the speed of a Mach 2 across the living room. F-. He curses, diving rapidly to the ground to avoid her tackle. You and Natsu should take football lessons together. You'd be really good sheet. Dabi contorts his body in ways he didn't know were possible as Fuyumi stomps her foot and freezes over the entire floor in about 2 seconds flat. Laundry, vacuum, cooking, all by myself. She raves, ripping Natsuo's skateboard out of his arms and using it as a makeshift baseball bat, forcing Dabi to slide to his knees underneath it. 10. FING. Years. Tuya. Should we intervene? Shudo asks quietly from the safety of the hallway. Nah, Natsuo slurps his boba drink. He deserves it. Shudo tilts his head to the side as Dabi somehow manages to flip over the skateboard projectile by using the back of the couch as a springboard. Why? Natsuo shudders, before glowering in Dabi's general direction where he's now desperately clutching the ceiling fan in a terrified ball. Bathroom duty. Shudo blinks, shrugs, and then goes back to slurping his own boba drink. Dabi squeals as Fuyumi sends a row of icicles at him, jumping off the ceiling fan and diving towards the window. Only for Inko-san, who had never left and was watching the family brawl like it was her favorite soap opera, to grab Dabi by his scarf with her quirk and halt him in his tracks. No! Inko-san hisses. I just replaced that window. Sorry, Inko-san. Dabi croaks. And you? Inko-san turns on Fuyumi with a fierce glare. If you're going to scold your brother, stop destroying the furniture. Before Dabi can sigh in relief, Inko-san pulls a wooden spoon out of her apron pocket and slaps it in Fuyumi's hands. Use this instead. Fuyumi beams at Midori's mother, taking the wooden spoon gratefully. Thank you, Midoriya-san. She turns to Dabi with a terrifying smile and a white-knuckled grip. Prepare yourself, you absolute a-hole. Oh F me. Dabi mutters, and runs for his motherfucking life. Izuku looks up from doing homework at Kurogiri's bar with a bright smile. Hey, you weren't kidnapped. His smile falters at Dabi's weird walk. You okay? No, Dabi says flatly. Is that a bruise on his cheek? He turns around to head upstairs, and Izuku chokes on his soda. The petite woman clinging to his back lets out a loud sob, burying her face into his neck as Dabi awkwardly piggybacks her. I'm sorry, Tuya. She wails, squeezing his neck so tightly that Izuku's about 25% sure Dabi can't breathe. Wait, bump that up to 80%, Dabi is looking distinctively purple in a way that has nothing to do with his burn scars. I swear I don't have badly repressed anger issues. Sure. Dabi wheezes out. Whatever you say, sis. The two of them shamble up the stairs, with Dabi grunting out reassurances to his sister's blubbers. Izuku's jaw is still on the floor when Natsuo and Shudo stroll into the room, nursing half-empty boba drinks and a container of popcorn. Dare I ask what that was about? I don't know, but I got it on video. Shudo holds up his phone. Natsuo rolls his eyes with a half-smirk. Fuyumi has a shit-ton of pent-up rage from over 2 decades of our dad's shitty behavior, and it boiled over after having 2 very emotionally charged discoveries with 2 of her brothers she assumed were dead. By Shudo's eyebrows, that was simplifying it. Izuku considers that statement for a long moment, before deciding to stay out of the Todoroki family drama and simply makes a grabby motion towards Shudo's phone. "Gimme. Already sent it to you." Shudo answers, leaning over his homework. "Also, you forgot to carry the 4 here." Izuku knew there was a reason that Shudo was his favorite. A loud crash from upstairs interrupts them. "Your AF villain?" "Oops," Natsuo mutters unrepentantly, right as Dabi starts screaming frantically. They all trade looks, before individually yet simultaneously decide that is it absolutely not their business whatsoever. Shuto intones quietly, all of them repeating after him and nodding their heads seriously. "Rest in peace, Dabi, it was nice knowing you." Class 1J watches with bated breath as Kayama shuffles the pack of cards, dealing them silently to the 4 players hunched around the teacher's desk. "Go clockwise," is all she says before she steps back, allowing them free range to do what they please. May hums before placing her card down first. "Ace of spades," she proclaims to the room like an announcer. Someone dramatically gasps. Shudo, on the other hand, looks nonplussed as he sorts through his cards before playing his own red Uno card. +4. Izuku chuckles, shaking his head at those poor fools. "Leafan, I choose you." He throws the card on the table, delighting in the crowd's horrified noises. Hitoshi trembles. "What the F are we playing?" Before Izuku can answer that delightful question, the warning bell rings, reminding them they have 2 minutes to get wherever they need to be. May's out her seat at the first note, stomping her feet until a set of wheels pop out the soles of her shoes. "See you boys later," she hollers as she roller skates out of the door at the approximate speed of a bullet train, leaving a trail of scorched ground behind her and several people flattened against the lockers with the skill of one who's used to this 7 a.m. bullshit. Izuku glances back to Shudo, but his best friend is already gone, the only sign that he was there being the open window and the faint sheen of melting ice. Kayama claps her hands. "Everyone to their seats. We'll settle today's round of shock value tomorrow, so Midoriya is the de facto winner, once again." She narrows his eyes at him, but Izuku only smiles brightly. What she can't prove can't hurt her. Yaoyorozu doesn't even bother to scream in shock anymore as Shudo dives through the open window feet first, perfectly landing in his seat and slamming the window shut literally seconds before Aizawa steps in with the bell. Aizawa stops dead in his tracks, eyes devoid of any emotion as he tries to make the connection of having seen Shudo in the middle of playing shock value with 1J literally 10 minutes prior and yet somehow being in the classroom without passing him by the door. "I don't know what you're up to," Aizawa says. "But for the love of all that is good in the world, stop it." "I have no idea what you're talking about, sensei," Shudo says blandly. He gave his best "I truly have no idea what's going on" look, the same one that can drive Midoriya to attempted murder in less than 2 minutes. He knows this fully, as Midoriya did not take him eating the last Trix yogurt last night well in the slightest. Inko-san had to drag Midoriya off of him before the other boy suffocated Shudo with a pillow. Aizawa rubs his face. "You know what? I'm not going to touch that. I've gotten 4 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. I am just too tired." Kirishima raises his hand, despite how he's been shivering all morning. "Are you feeling all right, sensei?" "Peachy," Aizawa says dryly, leaning back and using his eye drops. "In other news, I'm going to take a nap. Don't wake me up for anything less than one of you bleeding out or the building within a couple meters is on fire." They school didn't burn down in his 40-minute nap, but it came pretty close. Shudo doesn't have any proof, but he just knows it's Midoriya's fault somehow. For once, the league is actually having a somewhat calm day. Izuku says somewhat, because they're never truly calm. All of them, except Kurogiri and Compress, are just too feral for that. Currently, he and Magna are braiding Himiko's hair on one of the couches, weaving in as many googly eyes, Izuku, and ribbons, Magna, that can physically fit. Tamura and Spinner are on the other couch playing Breath of the Wild, while Dabi sits on a nearby stool reading something on his phone. Twice and Compress seem to be pretty reoccupied with an old pre-quirk karaoke machine they stole from the restaurant they get their food from on Burger Thursdays. Why anyone thinks putting something that valuable behind glass will deter villains with sticky fingers is beyond him, personally. Kurogiri isn't available, but he had told them softly, but very firmly, that if they left the building he would eviscerate every single one of them except Tamura. Tamura would get grounded, though, so he's not sure which fate is worse. That looks pretty fun. Izuku comments as he watches Link cross-dress and still kicks but in a crop top. What an absolute legend. Can I have a turn? Later. After the Yiga clan. Tamura waves him off, teleporting somewhere with a sheet ton of birds to buy some ingredients. Dabi perks up. If you're letting Midori play, can I skip around Zora's domain dash? No. Both Spinner and Tamura snap, with Spinner looking queasy at the mere thought while Tamura practices some very familiar deep breathing. He is doing the exercises Izuku taught him for his anger issues after all. Magna blinks. I feel like I'm missing something. She admits. Dabi is under no circumstances, Tamura hisses. Allowed to play Breath of the Wild. Why just this one? It's Dabi-kun's kind of game. Himiko points out brightly, which is true enough. If it's marketed towards children, Dabi hops it on like a flea on sheet. Izuku has a feeling he's compensating all the childlike joy and wonder he didn't have a chance to feel growing up, but the last time Izuku brought that up, Dabi locked himself in his bedroom for a good bloody cry before giving him a cream-filled donut that was in face, actually cream, but mayonnaise. Izuku took the punishment like the good friend he was and ate the abomination against the natural order under Dabi's narrowed eyes. Spinner slams his hands on the coffee table. He just spends the entire time being effing thirsty. Listen, it's not my fault that Sidon is literally the hottest character in the entire Zelda franchise. Dabi instantly argues back. Sidon is 100% prime boyfriend material, he's incredibly supportive and would treat you like the king you are. Tamura lets out an inarticulate shriek of rage. He's a effing fish. Someone's never seen The Shape of Water. Izuku mutters. Magna, who has seen it, glares at him for watching an R-rated movie with several graphic SEC scenes. He gestures to the coffee table where Himiko is literally scraping blood off her knives. Magna shrugs, he's got her there and she knows it. The argument between Tamura, Dabi, and Spinner is still going. Honestly, Izuku doesn't know whether to be impressed or worried. That overgrown smiley shark is not better than Midna you heathen. Tamura truly sounds offended on Midna's behalf. You just use the game to project your horniness on fictional characters. Spinner accusers have argued about someone named Skull Kid being the true MVP of the entire franchise for the last several minutes. Dabi gasps like a scandalized old lady. I wouldn't do that. That's what I have fanfiction for. Himiko tilts her head back, nearly dislodging the googly eyes he's taping to the end of one of her many small braids. What's even the point of reading fanfiction? The blood is never as pretty as it is on screen. It's simple, Toga. Dabi says. So I can finally experience all the love and see I'm not having. It's at this point that Compress and Twice pull themselves away from the jukebox and peer over Dabi's shoulder at his phone. Dabi, you're in the tentacle tag. Compress points out right as Twice says, don't you have like a bazillion sugar daddies? No, I think it's only like 12 or 5. Dabi raises an eyebrow. Did I stutter? It's not clear which question he's answering. If Dabi-kun can't play, can I play? Himiko pipes up, while Izuku hisses at her to keep still. Damn it. No, Tamura shuts down immediately. You're not allowed to play either after last time. Himiko whines. Just because you like to be a completionist doesn't mean that I can't have fun. Tamura points at her. Fighting Ganon buck naked with a FING tree branch is not having fun, that's being chaotic neutral and we already have Midoriya. Excuse you? Izuku asks, honestly offended. I'm chaotic good and you know it. We already said I'm chaotic neutral, Tamura-kun. Himiko protests. Izuku-kun is chaotic good, you're neutral evil, and Dabi-kun is chaotic evil. We've been over this. Yes, they had an entire debate about it. No, they're not allowed to argue about it anymore after destroying Kurogiri's sink. It's at this exact point, when Tamura is too distracted by League alignment chart part umpteenth, that the familiar anxiety-inducing music starts. Guardian. Spinner shrieks. I can see that. Tamura screams, hurriedly smashing the buttons to teleport away. They all let out a sigh of relief when Link lands safely on some tower, with Tamura handing the controller over to Spinner for a much-needed snack break. Spinner, who's much more willing to share, allows Izuku and Himiko to watch him play, explaining something of the finer mechanisms to them as he troops around Hyrule. That's a Stomoblin, basically the skeleton version of a Moblin. Spinner explains as a literal corpse climbs out of the ground what the fuck. You can rip their arms off and beat them to death with it. With that cheerful statement, he proceeds to do just that with a smile on his face. This is fine. This is the opposite of fine. Twice whispers with feeling. Tamura slurps his Capri Sun. You can do that in real life too if you're not a FING coward. Okay, they're going to ignore that vaguely ominous statement. Link is so small though, so swole. Himiko says before gasping dramatically. He's a twunk. Compress squints. What's a twunk? His tone implies that he really doesn't want to know. A mixture between a TWK and a hunk. Magna explains kindly, a distinctively haunted look in her eyes that screams of memories that should under no circumstances be relieved. She's seen some shit. Tamura snorts. No way. He waves it away dismissively. Have you seen his biceps? Spinner, show them that Link is a hunk. Spinner sighs long-sufferingly and strips Link down to his underwear in the menu screen, spinning his figure around so they can all get a good look at him. Izuku hums. Yeah, I don't see it. Can just anyone pull off cross-dressing that easily? He doesn't think so. Himiko holds the hairbrush in front of her mouth like a microphone. Izuku-kun challenges Tamura-kun's argument with the idea that Link is in fact a TWK. Climbing up on the coffee table with dozens of small braids and at least 10 googly eyes, she appraises the room. Ooh, pick me. Twice raises his hand with a little bounce. Or don't. She points at Twice excitably, to no surprise. Who in the black mask? 3 categories, take you pick. He's a hunk. He decides, covering his mouth before he can contradict himself. Something that sounds like, TW, makes it past his fingers anyway. That's 2 votes for hunk, people. Himiko shouts. You with the fancy mask. Compress, who's looking more and more like he wants to hide behind said mask, shrugs. I suppose twunk? Admittedly, I'm out of touch with this sort of terminology and don't know the difference. Himiko graciously ignores the last fact. That's 2 for twunk, 2 for hunk, and only 1 for TWK. Anyone else care to join the riveting debate of the century? Dabi obviously must have just finished reading his tentacle FIC, or maybe he was replying to one of his gazillion sugar daddies, but either way he finally contributes to the conversation with a single TWK. Tamura, of course, rises to the bait. No FNG way. He gestures to the screen where Spinner has been ignoring all of them and is currently fighting some kind of white centaur. He's literally riding a linol like it's a horse right now. He's a hunk. This isn't FNG's Skyward Sword, Dabi. You can still be a TWK and have big D energy. Dabi waves at himself. I mean, look at me. You're a walking corpse with your skin held together with FING Office Max supplies. Tamura hisses. Dabi raises an eyebrow. Are set supplies being paid by people who think I'm hot? Are any of your stupid video games being paid for by anyone? Sensei pays for them. Tamura argues, before rapidly greening at the implications of what he just said. I can't, I just vomited in my mouth. Moving on now. Compress hurries them, patting Tamura's back and urging them to move on with the conversation. Unfortunately, Himiko does just that. If anyone's the TWK here, it's Izuku-kun. He has the daddy issues to go with it. That would imply I'm interested in section. Izuku says boredly, kindly ignoring her last statement. Imagine the emotional labor. Tamura wrinkles his nose. That's too much work. He agrees, looking better now that they've successfully blocked out the last 2 minutes from their lives for the rest of time. So we have 2 for each, Izuku-kun, Magne, Spin-kun, may we have your votes? Himiko holds out her hairbrush mic. The three of them exchange looks, running on the exact same FANG wavelength. TWK. Twunk. Hunk. Himiko flings her hairbrush at them. With a sigh, she collapses next to him and Magna on the couch, all three of them watching the screen in silence for a long few moments, which is never a good thing when it involves Himiko. The last time she went quiet for any long PRD of time, she made the headlines for a month. Hey, Link is pretty small, right? Even if he has great muscles. Yes? Spinner trails off, not knowing where she's going with this but smart enough to be wary. Do you think he can fit in a dryer? The League, minus Kurogyri, contemplates this. I don't know. Izuku admits, not liking that it bothers him. Himiko sits up. Hey, do you think Dash? No. Compress points at her. Under no circumstances are you allowed to climb in the dryer, young lady. Boo. Himiko sticks her tongue out at him. You're no fun. She turns to face Izuku, her best puppy dog eyes on as he tugs on his sleeve. You think I can fit in there, right? Izuku scratches his chin. It's a pretty big space. I'm more curious on how long the air supply lasts in there. Hypothetically, how long can you hold your BR dash? Let's, Compress interrupts loudly. And I cannot say this enough, not do that. The League trades a look. Compress groans and mutters something under his breath about wishing Kurogyri would come back from his errands soon. 40 minutes later, they're all crammed in the rather small laundry room at the back of the bar. Midoriya, please don't do this, I'm willing to beg. Compress pleads as Izuku climbs into the dryer. Izuku levels him with a flat stare. Then beg. And slams the door shut. After drafting his anxiety-inducing phone call with his father and the perfect way to get back at Shudo for eating the last Trix yogurt, he taps on the door of the dryer, taking in a huge gulp of air once the door is opened. Wow, Izune, you really can hold your breath for 4 minutes. Himiko chirps as Magna helps him climb out. Thanks. He grins brightly. The trick is not caring if you live or die. Dabi shoves him over. Move it, Magna said, it's my turn in the dryer. God. Hitoshi ems at lunchtime the next day, the four of them crammed between two potted plants in the frankly ridiculous-sized cafeteria. This headache just isn't going away. Izuku plunks down a tray of tonkatsu in front of Hitoshi. What's this? His platonic soulmate asks suspiciously. Food and water. Izuku answers blandly, nudging the glass of lemonade forward with a finger. Maybe you've heard of it. Hitoshi makes a dubious expression. What about you, Ivy? Mei pokes him with her chopsticks, far more interested in her phone with one earbud in than the maple tofu in front of her. Shudo, on the other hand, seems completely enthralled with his cold soba rather than his buzzing phone on the table next to him. Because he has absolutely no boundaries, Izuku leans over and opens his phone to check his wall of texts, considering Shudo is one of those people who doesn't put a password on their phones. Can't relate, that requires too much trust. The objectively hotter sibling. I only exist to decay. The objectively cooler sibling. Decay exists only as an extant form of life. The objectively hotter and cooler sibling. We will all return to the earth someday to become the nutrients in which the living feast upon. You fuckers. Think you're real funny. But peace is forbidden here. The objectively cooler sibling. Peace is an idea, not a reality. The objectively hotter sibling. Okay, what the absolute F guys. In the emo one here, we need to clear the air. Your most curse takes within 30 seconds, go. The objectively cooler sibling. Saying Omi wa mao shindu, but with a country accent. The objectively hotter and cooler sibling. Toothpaste is bone soap. You fuckers think you're real funny. Wussy is the uwu version of Bussy. The objectively hotter sibling. Actually, NVM, go back to venting our repressed childhood trauma. The objectively cooler sibling. Repressed? There's no repression here, smiley face. Completely unrelated, I may have driven one of father's sport cars into Tokyo Bay while listening to Second Chance by Shinedown and no longer have a ride home. You fuckers think you're real funny. Didn't this go off? The objectively hotter and cooler sibling. I'll see if Kurogyri can pick you up. The objectively cooler sibling. Thank you, Shudo. the objectively hotter sibling. I will allow you this one time to be the fellow emo child. The objectively cooler sibling. You're not even emo, you just wear skinny jeans and dye your hair because you have daddy issues. Come talk to me when you've been to a rock concert in person. You fuckers think you're real funny. And then sis go off. The objectively hotter sibling. He glances up from the phone to meet Shudo's dead ones. Why is your family like this? It's not a question. Shudo pauses mid-chew. A lack of social engagement as children among our peers and our hostile household made us create unusual coping mechanisms for life's usual stress and anxiety that every small trigger results in an explosive outbursts. With that, he goes back to slurping his soba. Izuku opens his mouth. Closes it. Opens it again. He trails off, much like how Dabi did. No, I will not elaborate. Shudo says simply. Hitoshi raises his glass. Preaching to the choir, dude. They high-five, because this is Izuku's life, and he hates it. Can't relate, my self-esteem is too high for that. Mei glances up from her phone, the screen tilted down enough for Izuku to see that she's listening to a Wii Music remix, the bad one. What's it like to be neurotypical? Izuku asks in wonder. Mei snorts. Do I look neurotypical to you? She points to her bowl, where she neatly divided the rice and tofu perfectly in a way that's bordering on obsessive. I just mastered bottling up all of my positive and negative emotions that nothing can get my self-esteem down. Nothing. Hitoshi shoves a cutlet in her mouth to shut her up. Hey, if it works, it works. The four of them go back to eating, well, 3 of them and Izuku busting out his flashcards for his modern hero art history class considering he left his lunch at home. For an elective class, Kayama seems way too enthused about it, and he wouldn't put it past her to do a pop quiz. Izuku doesn't even look up when the alarms start ringing, frowning down at the art movement listed on the front of the flashcard. Was that 2074 or 2104? He almost has it, but then someone screams in terror, tearing him from his train of thought and making him lose it. God damn it, couldn't they scream a little quieter? Hitoshi sighs as someone dramatically starts shrieking about evacuations. At least I know that no matter what, I'm gonna die doing something that I love. What's that? Mei's dying. Hitoshi says dreamily. Before they can unpack all of that, a bag of fast food litteria he catches from the label is placed on the table by a deathly pale arm he'd recognize anywhere. Izuku brightens. Temuken. Hey kiddo, Tamura ruffles his hair with a small smile. You forgot your lunch. Izuku narrows his eyes. Did he? That BSTRD bugged him again, didn't he? I'm willing to drop this for now because I'm hungry and honestly this smells like what I imagine why people have section. Hitoshi does a spit take on his lemonade. Mei drops a piece of tofu. Shudo doesn't even bother glancing up. Opening the bag, Izuku fist pumps when he finds his favorite burger and a pack of fries. There's even a pack of honey mustard. The older villain deposits a cup of soda next to the bag with his pinky finger raised, and that's it. Temuken, Izuku says, face steeled and voice deadly serious. Marry me. Tamura of course only snorts. Sure, I need someone to do my taxes anyhow. Izuku gives him an incredulous glance. We're villains, Temuken, why the F would we do taxes? He says, careful to keep his voice down even over the ruckus in the hallway. You'd be surprised how much a warhead costs. Tamura says mildly. Thoroughly not wanting to know about that, Izuku stuffs the burger into his mouth and dives into the decadence of grease and way too much salt for his blood pressure. Where's Himeken? He asks once he's done some truly indecent things to his food. I thought the two of you were hanging out today. Oh. Tamura blinks once, slowly, like a cat. She's been here the whole time. At this exact moment, Kirishima bursts into the cafeteria, long jumping over fallen tables like an Olympic high jumper with a terrified expression while Kodai from Class 1B chases after him with a knife in her hand. But won't you bleed? She stabs his shoulder, only for the knife to bounce off his hardened skin. Whatever I did, I'm so sorry. Kirishima screams, looking near tears as he does a beautiful Fosbury flop over a room divider. She howls with pure aggravation. Pay with your life Udemy cheat code. Izuku stares at them fleeing the room with his mouth agape. But Tamura, the terrible influence he is, only looks begrudgingly proud. I knew that our 3-hour lecture on video game slang would pay off. Just go. Izuku points at the door. Tamura smirks as he tightens his hood over his head and vanishes into the crowd, but not without one last mocking 2-finger salute. I'm gonna kill that. Jerke. He grits out. I thought you were going to marry him. May teases. Haven't you heard? Izuku asks innocently. The life insurance for widows is great this time of year. We're all gonna die. Someone shrieks as they run by with their arms flailing in the air. May takes a selfie with a peace sign, Hitoshi buries his face in his food, and Shudo bites into a tomato like an apple. Izuku hates his FANG life. Shudo sits next to Midoriya, Shinso, and Hatsum in front of Aizawa's desk in the empty staff room, none of them looking as chastened as they probably should be, if the scandalized look the few teachers who wandered in were any indication. There's not enough seats, so Shudo is crammed next to Midoriya in the leather chair, the armrest digging into his ribs uncomfortably. At least he isn't being absorbed into the cushions like Midoriya is. A couple more minutes and his best friend might fuse with the chair entirely. Next to them, Shinso and Hatsum are also crammed in a chair, but rather than hip to hip like him and Midoriya are, Shinso is just outright sitting on Hatsum's lap with his legs kicked over the side of the chair. Isn't he heavy? Shudo asks. Nah, Hatsum cackles. He's nothing compared to my latest baby. Your latest baby weighs almost 300 pounds. Midoriya drawls. Shudo, who has never lifted 300 pounds and likely never will, shuffles awkwardly in his seat. Midoriya wheezes slightly from where Shudo's elbow digs into his spleen, kicking him in the ankle. Because Shudo is petty like that, he makes sure to aim for that exact spot the next time he shifts. The 4 of them quickly shut up when the door opens, multicolored eyes tracking Aizawa trudging across the staff room. With a groan, he plops down his rolling chair, just staring at his desk with an expression of, kill me now. Shudo swears he hears Shinso mumble, I feel that. Now that he's looking at it, Shinso does look an awful lot like Aizawa, another one to add to the cork board he is hiding underneath Inko-san's couch. Okay. Aizawa inhales, closing his eyes for a brief moment. Then they snap open, glowing a menacing red with his hair rising towards the ceiling. Why, pray tell, did the 4 of you not evacuate even under strict orders and the intruder alert blaring in your faces? What can I say? Shinso drawls. I long for death. Midoriya nods with a deadly serious expression. I'm a bad beach, death can't kill me. Death is my beach. Hatsum cackles, slapping Shinso's knee. For Shinso's part, he simply stares straight ahead with dead eyes, uncaring of the way he's jostled around her lap. Shudo, who doesn't have any death jokes to make, simply raises his bowl of soba closer to his mouth, once more elbowing Midoriya cushion and nearly killing in the process. You know the saying, a little childhood trauma builds character. Aizawa stares. They stare back. Mandatory therapy with Hound Dog for a week and 3 days of detention. Aizawa orders. Don't pull that again, you 4 are on thin ice as it is from your morning. His face curdles. Games. He blinks. The chairs are seated on the floor though, not any ice. Shudo kindly informs his teacher, just in case Aizawa didn't realize that. His control is impeccable, he would never ice the floor without reason or a dare. It's an expression, Shirakumo. Aizawa sighs. Shudo glances down. It's a carpet. Aizawa squeezes the bridge of his nose. Just go. Talk to your homeroom teacher about detention. If your homeroom teacher is me, talk to somebody else, I don't care who. Preferably midnight. Not present Mike? Shinso raises an eyebrow. Keep that up and you'll be my favorite. Somehow, that comes across threateningly. Go home, problem children. Slowly, the 4 of them disentangle themselves from the seats, Midoriya cushion especially having to claw his way out of the sole sking leather. Thank you, sensei. Hatsum laughs, leaving a half-disassembled pen on the teacher's desk. When did she have time to do that? Aizawa waves them off, practically nodding off as he sits while the four of them make their escape. It's only when they're safely out of the schools and walking towards the train station does Shinso let out a sigh of relief, eyes darting every which way as he hands Midoriya a scrap of paper. That was terrifying, and you so owe me for this. Midoriya hums, a sound that sends the hairs on Shudo's neck rising up. Thank you, Hiken. You got to meet your idol, though, so wasn't it worth it? Shinsu's cheeks turn a bright shade of red as he whips his head to the side and glowers at the ground. Shut up, he mutters. Hatsum tilts her head to the side, watching them not unlike a cat. Do I want to know? She asks, a mix of her never-ending curiosity and her very strong self-preservation. Nope. Midoriya chirps, slipping ahead of them on the sunlit road and turning on his heel to grin at them. It's going to be fun. Himiko kicks her legs at the bar, sipping on a box juice as Kurogyari, long back from his errands, opens a window to air out the bar from an argument between Dabi and Spinner. Hey, if Dabi-kun has big D energy, what do you call someone when they have the opposite? Izuku, who's staring up at the knife buried in the ceiling with a confused squint, makes a considering noise. To be honest, I have no clue. Little PP power? Dabi suggests with a nasty smirk. Magna, without once looking up from her historical novel, whacks him upside the head. Spinner rests his chin on his hand. Medium D dash? Twice makes a SOSO motion. Does it matter? Hell yeah it does. What if it's not a D joke at all? What then? Guess we'll die. He shrugs, content with that, and goes back to searching for the change he dropped during Dabi and Spinner's duke. Compress tosses a marble and catches his midair. To be honest, it's quite strange to discuss this sort of thing with you. Most of you have called me dad at least once. Kurogyari grunts. All of you have called me dad before. That reminds me, he backs away from the window, eyes narrowed on where Tamura is watching the news on the couch with his feet kicked up. I want to show you a video from earlier that concerns me. Okay, but in my defense, Toga and Midoriya bet me $10 that I couldn't fit in the dryer. Tamura replies without looking away from the TV. That's not what I was dash. Kurogyari does a double take. You climbed in the dryer? Slowly, ever so slowly, Tamura pulls his gaze away from the screen and towards his pseudo-father figure. No. It's at this exact moment that Himiko slams her hands on the bar. Medium PP potential. Kurogyari drops his head into his hands. Why can't you use these talents for villainy? He pleads with them. What did you think I broke into UA for? Just to buy Midoriya lunch. Tamura snorts, and Izuku fakes being offended, even though the entire league knows that yes, Tamura would do exactly that. He's a giant marshmallow under all those layers of spite and lotion deficit skin. Kurogyari sighs. And just what reason did you break into UA for? What operation could be possibly worth the chance of you being arrested without anyone knowing where you were? I was there. Himiko raises her hand. Kurogyari glares. Himiko lowers her hand. Nothing that important. Grins are echoed around the bar at Tamura's lie, Dabi most of all. Just a distraction big enough that no one can connect the League of Villains with one break-in. Izuku tugs out the piece of paper he had Hitoshi swipe for him earlier that day, while Himiko does the same at his side with her own stolen note. Everyone in the league, except for Kurogyari, follows their example, dropping their own scattered charts and schedules and patrol lists on the bar top for Kurogyari to see the evidence of their research over the last several days. Amongst the sprawling paperwork, several locations form a common thread: Hero Public Safety Commission, Might Tower, Unforeseen Simulation Joint, Kiyoshi Ward Shopping Mall, Tatooine Station, Juko News, and Fujiya Hospital. It'll be difficult, God will it be difficult. But she's waited long enough. After all, isn't that the saying? Hide a tree in a forest? Tamura raises his hands with a smirk. It's times like these that Izuku can see why they follow Tamura, even when they argue and try to kill each other. The failure king who will destroy the society that has hurt so many of them. Any questions, Kurogyari? When Kurogyari next speaks, it's with a hint of pride. Shall we begin then?